fucking up the rotation. It's time for the Bennington Show, the only father-daughter radio show in the history of radio. And don't be going to the bathroom after Chris Stanley for about 35, 45 minutes. I'm Vito Calise, and you can't have shit. I'm closed, fat boy. It's Ron Bennington, Gail Bennington, the Bennington Show.
Like a midnight ride. Every time you see me going somewhere, I know I'm going out of my mind, yeah. Oh, my baby, she left me the other day, and we were having a lot of fun. Oh, she know I just love her so, and that's the reason why she had to run.
Buddies, it's the Bennington Show, the only father-daughter radio show in the history of radio. I'm Gail Bennington.
I'm Ron Bennington. And I don't remember that quote from Friday, so who got called Fat Boy?
That was what he says. That's what Big Perm says to the kid at the ice cream thing, the little fat kid.
I feel like I've let us down. I got to go back and watch it one more time. Big Perm may be the greatest fucking actor of the last 400 years.
It really is.
By the way, I didn't mean to have that go exactly along with the length of slavery. It came out that way, but surely was not intended that way. I watched Devil with a Blue Dress again yesterday. I know you say you don't rewatch movies. I'm gonna watch that movie every time it comes on.
No, I don't rewatch new movies.
Oh,
Old
you don't
movies,
watch new movies?
Yeah, like that's what I said. I said that newer movies that come out, I'm like, oh, that's good, and I don't go back. But I used to go back to older movies all the time.
I can watch that first Iron Man over and over. And I know that's not that new.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like 12 years now, but it still feels like these fucking Cape movies are new to me.
12 Years a Slave? Is that what you said that?
God damn it. God damn it. And this is Black History Month. I don't want to fuck up.
I know. By the way, I have a fun fact. It shouldn't be a fun fact when it's about slavery. It's not fun. I just found out that Sojourner Truth was enslaved in Ulster County, New York.
Yeah.
Always in my mind, I thought that she was in the South, and then I think, she got her freedom when she was like 30 or something. Yeah. I just found out that's Ulster County. That's a very short drive away from where we are right now.
Yeah, you got to go up there for it. It's real fun.
Yeah.
It's real fun for your fun facts. Yeah, the whole thing wasn't... I'm going to say this during Black History Month because nobody else will. Sorry. Just bottom of the heart. Sorry, not a good thing. Not a good thing, you know? It's right up there with how many Native Americans we killed.
Yeah, that's probably some of our worst work.
That's our top two.
Yeah.
That's our top two, and I guess depending on your background, you could decide.
Yeah.
What's the worst. They're both bad.
What do you think 3 is?
To me, I think stealing hockey from Canada was a terrible thing that we've done. We've taken hockey from people who really love it, and we've put it in very hot climates where
wrong.
It doesn't belong.
It's a distant third, but
I was very quick with that third. So happy for myself. That was a little 2,000-year-old man trick I pulled, not knowing what was coming, but I got something. I'm gonna put that bullet in the chamber. You know what I think is true with the streaming? I think I'm watching more TV than I am movies. And for some reason, I think the TV is a higher quality than movies.
Yes.
I know I can't get you guys to jump into the alternate reality TV show where High Fidelity is now a girl is Rob. I enjoy it. And while I'm watching it, I'm like, I think this is better than any rom-com movies that we got going on right now.
You know what weird thing I just did for the first time on a streaming service? I finally watched a competition-based reality show, and it's The Circle, which is the one that Vito got into.
I thought for sure that it was going to have something to do with baking cakes.
No,
You like a lot of baking shows.
I do like baking shows. I guess those are like reality shows, but this is, I don't know, whatever you call this. Like, whatever the category that Survivor and Big Brother are in, it's a different thing.
Yeah, they're reality competition shows,
Yeah.
but you get to know them a little bit, unlike Jeopardy.
Right.
But you don't really ever see anybody in Jeopardy sleep or trying to find food.
So this, very similar to the vibe of Big Brother, except for it's all based around kind of social media ideas. So they're in an apartment building. Everyone has their own apartment, and they don't get to see each other, but they're communicating. Some of them are being themselves, some of them a version of themselves, and others a total catfish.
You know, I remember when we all laughed at Vito for liking this.
Yes.
And now you like it.
No, I definitely don't like it. It's that weird thing that happens with reality shows where you're like, well, I have to see this
Yeah, I got
through.
to see who wins.
I have to see this through. But honestly, the thing that I thought was most interesting is I was yelling at the TV all the time, where are the producers in this? I felt like they weren't, sometimes in Big Brother it feels like they're puppeting too much. This wasn't enough puppeting. This wasn't enough drama. You never heard people talking game, and it was driving me insane. Instead, there were people who were like, I'm just trying to be myself, and I don't know if someone's a catfish. And then it cuts to the catfish being like, I'm a catfish, and I hope no one finds out. And you're like, hey, if you think this person's a catfish, how does that work to your benefit? Hey, if you know this personal information about this person from a private chat, use it against them to try to win your money.
Do they ever meet each other?
At the end, at the very end.
That doesn't make sense.
And there was zero drama to it. All these people were like, this person is my best friend now, and I think I'm kind of in love with them. And then they meet them in person, and then they were just like, you got me. I can't believe that you were a catfish. And you're like, you said you would be so furious, but then you were like, you know what, I actually like you, dude.
How long did it last?
Oh, my God.
They were in there for, I believe, like 2 to 3 weeks. And
And they didn't react with anybody on the outside world? They didn't see
No.
television? They didn't
no,
see...
that's the cool thing. They are isolated.
Wait, cool?
The,
Do you understand what cool means? 'Cause
I understand what cool
By the
means.
way, last night there was a Miles Davis fucking 2.5-hour special on American Masters. Maybe that's something you should do before you use the word cool. Mets fan.
I think it is cool that like Big Brother's about isolation. Like this game, but they don't play it up at all. Like they don't even mention that they're in isolation. You just kind of have to figure it out on your own that they're not interacting with the outside
Yes.
world.
I'm going to say this. They're not going to get a season 2. There won't be a season 2.
I think that there might not be. And I hope so for Michelle Buteau, who has done Girl Meets Girls, and I think she did a great job as the host.
Wow, that's cool. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
She did very good.
Now I'm using cool with this stupid show.
But and it kind of, that aspect, you're like, oh, it's nice to see somebody who is able to act like they watched the
She
show.
watched it. She
unlike
referenced
Julie
it.
Chen.
She wasn't
Julie
reading
Chen
off of a
moved
card to get references. She was like, "Oh, Shuby," and asked him questions about like somebody who knew what was happening.
This is Julie Chen. I understand there was a robot in there this week.
Julie, there is every season.
Well, it's welcome back to Big Brother. I'm wearing matching boots with earrings.
You look great, Julie.
Julie, you're so beautiful.
Hey, Julie.
Without seeing the show, I'm going to give it a fucking 0 and 2 thumbs down.
You will. You absolutely will. And I don't think that I enjoyed it at all, but I wanted it so badly to be good because I knew I was going to watch every episode.
Now, I'm going to ask Chris Stanley this because I really have no idea. Do you and your chick binge watch? Do you sit and watch TV together?
We've binge watched the British Bake Off show, and I used to watch. I've like binge watched The Office, but we don't really. Binge
You don't
watch.
like the two of you cuddle up on the couch and sit and watch your show. You don't have a show that you two enjoy.
We watched the last season of Stranger Things, but that was kind of shitty because I was just shitting on it the entire time.
Yeah,
So
but
it was
that's kind of fun. That's
not
kind of
very
fun.
enjoyable. Chris.
Chris, I'm telling you right now, I think the two of you, because it's literally in your neighborhood of Brooklyn,
Yeah.
would love High Fidelity. You know? It's
I've heard
about
good things.
Fucking, yeah, from me. But it's about, rocking, aging hipster kids, on the sick side of 30, trying to deal with the changing neighborhood and the fact that people don't care about music anymore.
I'm gonna binge it this weekend then.
I really want to see Chris on the couch with his girlfriend. That's the thing. I just wanted to see them acting slightly normal. I know Earl doesn't watch anything, and quite frankly, Vito watches way too much of everything.
I've already moved on to this new Love is Blind show. I mean, I'm fucking watching anything Netflix.
You like those
puts out.
shitty shows.
He does, and he forced me into the circle.
I like reality-based competitions. Like, that's what I like Big Brother. I like the challenge.
I guess that's what it was. Reality-based competition shows.
He didn't help you when you were searching, though. He left you on fucking out there by yourself in the cold. I don't know. I'll tell you, I think the funny thing that's happened is we've got more documentaries. They've gotten worse. You know what I mean? All documentaries seem to be very one-sided these days, and also closer to Dateline than ever before. Like, I don't want to watch anything about fucking Ted Bundy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Enough with that bullshit.
You know, the last great documentary I saw, and it was nominated but did not win for the Oscar, and that was Honeyland. And it's one of those very slow-moving verite documentaries where you're just following this woman and using these very, like, primitive practices. And she's a beekeeper, and it's, like, very sad and depressing. And it's one of those things, like, it shouldn't be interesting. There's nothing about it that is riveting.
Right.
There's no arc that you're going to follow.
We need honey for food.
And yet it's so good. It's so fantastic.
What's it on?
Netflix.
All right. That's another thing. You can't find fucking shit on there.
No.
You can't find a goddamn thing on these Netflix. There's too much of it all there.
Yeah.
Then I end up watching a cop show from Jerusalem. I'm like, I think I'm getting into this. And I'm like, nope, I'm not getting into this at all.
The other problem with documentaries is now they're episodic as opposed to an hour and a half. And now they're like 4 hours long and you have to binge watch it.
I have no problem with that if it's good.
Yeah.
If it's good, I don't give a shit how long it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wish it was longer. I go, I wish I could watch this for the rest of my life.
I've had that with shows where I'm like, why did they have to stop? Just keep going.
The thrill of finding out you have a new show. There's nothing like it. And then this other thing of when you think, because there's so many fucking channels, but I watched this show for some reason. A woman has like a mental fucking problem and she thinks she's in a musical and people saying what's going on inside of them. And I watched the first episode and I'm like, it was like Hulu or one of those. I'm like, I don't know. I might stick with this. It's a little odd. Forgot all about it. That was 3 fucking weeks ago. Because it just doesn't come on, Mondays at 9.
Right.
I don't have any of those shows.
I'm trying to think. There was something recently where I had that where I think something was just a little off in an episode, and I was just like, I wasn't enjoying this anyway.
Right. You're
and
like,
then
done.
I just stopped. Like something too goofy or too silly comes up, and you're like, nah.
I'm glad to be back into Better Call Saul. It's really fucking good. It's really smart. And I've already gotten fucking scared a couple times. Like, oh, he's going to get killed. He's going to get fucking killed right now.
Those shows are great to have where you're like, anyone could die.
Anyone could die at any time.
Yeah. There's
a fucking kid. I never know the names of people. Do you watch Better Call Saul?
Yes, I haven't watched the new season, but I do watch it.
All right, so like the quiet fucking Spanish kid who works for the fucking asshole man. Yeah. That fucking kid I find out is from Montreal. He speaks French, Spanish, and English. Fucking kid is so good, and he's a really good looking kid too.
I can't imagine that when anyone's like you come, it happens. You meet a lot of people, especially in the city, who speak 2 languages, and you're like, oh, okay, that's. When people start saying that they have 4 or 5 languages, I don't understand it.
Segura, the fact that he could do a special, in
that's
Spanish,
crazy.
And I'm like, who fucking wants to watch that, Tom?
Also,
Spanish people.
Yeah. Also, I never realized that he was that Latin. It just didn't.
Where is he from? Peru? His people are from Peru?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I know anybody from Peru.
No.
I love a lot of those fucking South American countries, too.
Oh, yeah. Great meat from Peru. I've been to, some good Peruvian steakhouses.
I like their purple potatoes.
Oh, love.
Hell yeah.
So good. They have that going for them.
What else is down? Of course, you got the Brazil, Argentina, Colombia. Let's push them aside. They're fucking too famous for me. But there's one country, and I always see them in soccer, because their chicks are unfucking believable, and they got like a Spanish thing plus a German thing going.
Is that like Paraguay?
I think it's Ecuador.
No, it's definitely not Ecuador. Could be Paraguay.
Yeah.
Give me a look of the Paraguay soccer team. Now, have you ever met anybody from Paraguay?
No.
No, I haven't.
Go to images, Chris. What
These
you
are
got
children. Oh my God, how weird.
You're a fucking nut. No, that's definitely not them with those colors. I don't know who I'm fucking talking about. And I'll tell you, Chris, with this Costa Rican thing, we can fucking take the show to Costa Rica, live there.
This sounds great.
For like $1,400 a month, you'd have a beautiful fucking place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And servants.
Yeah. There's a ton of expats moving down there.
Now
just
look,
buying
you
land.
just got a picture of fucking Rio. The most fucking taken picture in the history of the world. Jesus looking down on Rio.
Did you say Argentina or no?
No, it's definitely not Argentina.
Bolivia?
No.
Uruguay.
Hold on. We got a winner. Go to the Uruguay. They're fucking really gorgeous people, and the chicks are unfucking believable. And I'll tell you, yeah, that's them. Even the soccer team is highly attractive. But there's a weird German, I'm going to guess Nazis after watching The Hunters.
Sure.
There's like a Nazi thing that runs through them. Look, I'm just going to fucking say it from the beginning. You want to be in a mixed race. That's the fucking attractive
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you also think of genetically, it makes sense to create a stronger breed because you could have a genetic, in your genetic code, it could say that you could have possibly this disease, right? But you need two people to both carry that code in order for you to have it for a genetic disease.
Do you know you're going the exact opposite way of Hitler?
Exact opposite.
Hitler was just, it's got to be as pure can be.
Like what's the bad cystic fibrosis? That's a lung disease.
I had no idea that.
Okay, so let's say you have.
I honestly, but I thought it was spine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a spine.
So if you have one parent who is a carrier of that, but the other parent is not, then there's no possible way that the child is born with that. But if you have two parents who are a carrier of that, you have like a very great possibility that the child could have that. And that happens when you have the same racial background or from the very same small area. A lot of times you're predisposed to the same.
Do you think that's why in New York so many black guys have bad backs?
Could be.
I don't know what it is, but in a post-40 world for black dudes, either the neck or the back,
Yeah.
you're going to have fucking serious problems with.
Remember when we were dancing with Earl the other day and he got on the ground and then he had to get back
He
up?
couldn't get up. He was like fucking Grady.
I couldn't believe it. And the groans that you were making, Earl,
Everything kind of twisted out of shape.
Why?
just from laying down.
Because there's not enough mixed race with you.
Well, I was mainly African, so yeah, we don't mix.
Mainly, it was like 99%.
The only thing, he was 1% slave owner.
Yeah. You don't
Well,
want to brag about that.
let me tell you something. Look at his last name. That's a fucking slave owner's name.
Yes.
And that's why I always thought Malcolm X was on the fucking ball about two things. A, why we walking around with their names? Mm-hmm. And B, why we walking around with their Jesus? You know what I mean? Why would you possibly be adapting to the slave owner's religion?
Yeah.
It's a losing proposition. But black people across the board love Jesus in a way that I'm going to say you're going to get outside of Mormons and some southern white people. Black people are really into Jesus.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you think maybe you come from the same, like Frederick Douglass, like maybe you guys come from the same?
Didn't show up on
owner?
his thing, I'll say that.
No.
Not sure. I mean, I found documents from my father that has apparently Douglas is spelled with two S's instead of one, and I've always asked him about it. He's never really answered it, and apparently my grandfather, excuse me, he
was gender fluid.
he had
Douglas.
there was two S's
Earl
in the
Douglas.
I love that.
That's great.
That should be your fucking online name.
Yeah.
So
Black
who knew?
Earl de Glass. That's cool.
Wonder what Vito, you got anything mixed in with all that Italian?
I don't know. I've never done one of the DNA tests.
Would you like to? You
Yeah,
scared?
I'm a little scared. Like, I don't know. I feel like, so one of my uncles did it, and it came back part Turkish, and he threw a fit, wrote to the people, and then they sent him back a thing that said you're 100% Italian. But I don't.
Here's the thing. If you're in the Mediterranean, right? Those fucking conquering armies went back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, the Italians are right next to the Greeks, and the Greeks got a fucking ton of Turk shit that happened.
Yeah.
Ton of Persian stuff that went down. So, I mean, that's the mix. It's so fucking... if you go to, like, a Greek wedding and shit, and you start listening to music, you're like, hey, this is kind of Arab.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And then the food gets pretty Arab.
Yes.
And you're like, hey, how come? And you're like, oh, yeah, read a little bit.
Yeah.
That shit went back and forth. They were fighting. They were trading.
Yeah.
They argue over hummus. I know. They're like the
Who invented it?
the Arabs and the Greeks.
Look, they both take credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fucking delicious.
They both do it really well.
Yeah.
It's not like you would say one is better than the other.
No.
But I'll tell you this. I'm never nervous around the Greeks. Get a little nervous about the Turks. Turks, you don't know how it's going to fucking go. Like if somebody said, you want to go to Turkey? I'm like, I don't think so.
Too many coups.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking coups over there.
Drop
Yeah.
of a hat.
The Armenians would agree with you.
Didn't the Kardashians show up in fucking Turkey? Isn't that where their background was? I know
They're
they're
Armenian.
They're Armenian.
Yeah.
All right. So they fucking show up over there. They got Yeezy with them. People don't give a fuck. He was carrying a fucking bag, and they were going ape shit for those Kardashians.
Yeah. Yeah. Point of pride.
Yeah.
There's not many Armenians.
No.
Thanks to the Turks.
Thanks to the Turks, and they
Yeah.
still ain't done.
Yeah.
You gotta watch out with them.
In Turkey, like there's athletes who can't even go overseas and play games. Like Enes Kanter, this basketball player, because of like his Turkish heritage, he couldn't go to certain countries.
They just don't want him in there
Yeah.
because he'll start an invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I wish people could chill the fuck out. I'd love to go to Turkey. A lot of fucking cool things there, but Chris is right. I don't want to be anywhere where the fucking coup goes down.
Yeah. You got to watch those coups.
Yeah, you don't know if the military is going to take
I don't want a coup or an earthquake.
No. Terrible.
And they get them both.
Yeah.
And if there's an earthquake, people go, should we coup? You know what I mean? With all this chaos, maybe we'll coup a little bit. I'd like to see Earl go back to fucking Africa, like, and find his roots.
Where would you go?
Mali and South Africa.
Stay out of South Africa. You got no fucking bloodline to South Africa.
Yeah.
Your fucking thing, and this is the perfect name, is the Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest.
Hell
There's
yeah.
two fucking cool names. Ivory Coast and Far Rockaway. Those are the two best names. And too many cops live in Far Rockaway for me to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crawling with
Those fucking
cobwebs.
people leave the keys in the car, just fucking hoping someone starts some shit. There's fucking cops and there's firemen. And I can't hear about fires all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
Like,
too sad.
yeah, it's just too sad and they constantly talk about it.
Gerritsen Beach, which is right next to the Rockaways, is where it's essentially a gated community, but it's all cops and firemen, and it's all a lot of inbreeding, I think.
Isn't that breezy?
That's just that's
I
what you
mean-
just said set you up for a lawsuit.
Allegedly.
And that's Breezy Point.
No, it's Gerritsen Beach, too.
There's two of them?
Yes.
Because Breezy
Breezy
Point,
Point is like that as well.
Breezy Point, if you look it up, their breakdown, racial demographics is less. It's 1% less than white. Like less than 1% is not white, and you have to get voted into the community.
Yeah, but that's most of America. You just don't know because you live on the
Right.
Upper West Side. Most of America, the community
I
is
started to
less
get
than 1%.
uncomfortable. Like, there's a lot of white people around.
Yeah. And that less than 1% are nervous as fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck, man? Why is everybody fucking... I'm one guy. Look, here's the thing. Breezy Point, I have a buddy who lives out there, and he always wants me to vacation as his fucking home. What? But when, I guess it was Sandy hit or whatever,
Yeah.
a lot of those places burst into flames because fucking...
Yeah.
Because the tide came in. I'm like, how could the ocean start a fire?
It was fucking bizarre.
Rockaway and Breezy both like a lot of them got, but Breezy's the one that took the biggest hit. Like most of that town burned down.
But yeah, in Rockaway, when you're like whatever that is, as you're starting to get towards like Fort Tilden, there's just like these beautiful houses on the water, and they were just destroyed. It's crazy.
Houses on the water is that's a temporary thing, no matter what you do. You know.
And then afterwards, of course, it was very cheap to suddenly get houses because nobody wanted to. They were like, "This is going to happen again," and we were looking at those, like some of those places, and we're like, "It just feels like it's going to happen again."
Right.
It doesn't seem like a good gamble.
Yeah, well, it's fucking going. It's going good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Vito and I were looking at those fucking houses in the Hollywood Hills, and we're like, "I fucking could come down right now." But the fact is, they've been out there my whole life, hanging off those fucking hills, and they, they're still there.
Yeah.
I think you're fine.
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't like that you can see the stilts that they are on. Like when you're looking at the hills and you can literally see the sticks that are holding the houses up. It
Yes,
just looks...
that's first of all, every house is held up that way. It's just that you don't see it because they put a wall there. But every place has a fucking foundation.
But
this fucking building, if you saw, you know what I mean, what is holding this building up, you would be fucking shocked.
But like not on the side of a mountain or a hill. That's what I don't like.
No, you just want extra. I get it. Look, it's a fucking hill.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
hills have eyes.
Right. The hills are alive with the sound of music. I like to see Earl down there on the Ivory Coast just fucking killing elephants and sawing off their
He's so
tusks.
cool. What about
Yeah, he's part Cameroon
Yeah.
too. Good
Any
soccer.
interest?
I think my
growing
sister-
soccer scene.
My sister went there and she loved it.
What do you mean you think your sister went there?
No, they went to Africa. I don't know exactly what part of Africa.
When did
it's
they
a
bring
whole
you?
country?
She went with her husband. It was like a second honeymoon.
Second honeymoon is fucking crazy to go to Africa.
I think
Just
you
go
can
there
bring
for
a friend
fun.
on a second honeymoon.
Yeah, no shit.
First, that's awkward. Don't get me wrong. Second, everyone's invited.
I don't even think the first is that weird. You know what I mean? I mean, how long you need to be alone? Not fucking 24 hours a day. Plus, the thing about a honeymoon is like, man, I can't wait to get back and talk about the wedding with people, see if they liked it. You know what I mean? You can't
guys
wait
still
to get
buzzing?
back. Hey, yeah. Wasn't that great? I mean, I didn't think I wanted a DJ, but he played everything
Yeah.
that we wanted.
What'd you think of the shrimp? Good?
Yeah. Was it too puffy? I said shrimp puffs, but it was mainly puff. I like a little puff. I'm not going to lie to you. The cake was nice, wasn't it? Beautiful, beautiful cake.
We saved some. We put it
Yeah.
in the freezer.
Yeah, we put it in the freezer. We're going to eat it next year. Is that gross?
Yes.
Is that gross to eat old cake?
It really is. When did that become a thing?
Always. My whole life.
Always?
Yeah. My fucking uncle, when I was a little kid, there was an old fucking hunk of his wedding cake in my grandmother's freezer, and me and my cousins would go and look at it all the time. We were like, that's the oldest cake. We were very fucking fascinated
It's like
by
a
old
fossil
cake. Yeah.
that you guys
Yeah, we were
found?
just like, they're going to eat it one day. We were all excited. He did that, and he saved the champagne bottle. And then they got divorced.
Oh, man.
Both went in the trash. Both went in the fucking trash. And that was going to be my exciting day of my life.
Yeah.
Old champagne.
Everyone come out and eat this old cake.
Plus, he just had the champagne sitting in the corner. It was all fucked up. He didn't have it fucking stored properly.
No, yeah, that's not good.
You got to have it like upside down or something, or on a
Right.
fucking angle
And
of
there's
some
like
kind.
a very specific temperature you want it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He just had it next to the baseboard heat.
No.
Just sitting there.
The words.
Sitting up.
Just turning.
I don't like that kind of stuff. I feel like you're fucking with fate. You know what I mean? If you're like, oh, we'll have this in the future, then it gets to be the future. Somebody's dead or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I felt weird about. I heard somebody say they did something where it was like the dad had saved a bottle of wine that was from the birth year of the child, and then on his wedding they all drank that wine.
Yeah.
And I thought of that, and I was like, yeah, that's I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah,
There's
no.
something about it is just
It's
too
gross.
weird.
Let's face it, it's fucking gross.
Also, there's so much attention on the like when my child gets married. I don't know why it's such a
It's
milestone
fucking
for
sick.
parents
It's
to
fucking
talk
sick.
about.
What is it, Chris?
My parents I got a bottle of the Dom Perignon the year I was born. I still have it, but it was also not stored correctly, so God knows what it tastes like.
I'll bring it in. We'll drink it on Monday.
Yeah. Was it supposed to be for your wedding?
I think I don't know. They never brought it up to me. I found it
They
after
must
they
have
passed
realized
away.
you've never.
When Gail was born, I put a big fat joint aside. I said, we're gonna spark this up.
It's a little stale.
And then
It has no flavor.
no, about 2 weeks later, I smoked it. I didn't have any fucking weed. Totally fucking dry.
Oh, Chris, that makes me sad because you found it and they never told you, but they obviously were going to surprise you
I don't
at your
think-
wedding.
I don't
yes,
think
they were.
they
That
were-
was the idea.
They were hoarders. It was in the middle of the hoard. So there was no way for them to
But
remember
it was
it
your
was
birth
there.
year.
Yes, it was my birth year. Yeah,
That
so
was the intention.
They had
I'm
good
telling
intentions, but I think it fell off. Like, they forgot about it over the years.
Still counts.
you. Yeah.
I'm not even sure that's your real dad.
God knows, Ron. God knows what Amy was up to.
Good for her, though. You know what I mean?
I would have loved
Yeah,
for
step
her.
out a little
Yeah,
bit.
to get some side cock. I would love for her to find another man after.
Can I
he
tell you
passed away.
something? Here's I always like a movie where the woman's the cheater. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
find it much more exciting. There was all right, I think it's called. I mean, it's a Toronto movie, so that's already weird. I think it's called While They Waltzed or something like that, but it's Michelle Williams, and she's married to Seth Rogen, and then she starts having an affair.
yeah.
And I'm like, of course she's going to have an affair.
Yes.
Why wouldn't she? She's the sexiest little fucking thing. And there's Seth Rogen, just a nice, clueless fucking guy.
Take this waltz.
Take this
waltz. It's a pretty
yep.
good movie.
Yeah.
I feel like
liked
going
it.
back and watch it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. Who was the guy that she cheated on him with?
He's he was nothing but a stud. He was like a rickshaw fucking guy
yeah.
or something. I mean, like there was no reason. But Sarah Silverman was her sister-in-law, and I hated seeing those two break up.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
sad.
Because you will lose your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law, as you should.
You have to.
I think it's only best. I think you get the opportunity to take the friend you came in with, but that's it. New friends, I say you both stay away from them.
I have a friend who she's related to her uncle, and then her aunt is by marriage, and the uncle cheated on the aunt, and then the whole family is on the aunt's side, and now like they have a strained relationship with him. And I was like, I know that he did wrong by her, but like he's your blood. Like I feel bad for the guy.
But I say, that thing is only if he's crackhead. You know what I mean? Like if he's a crackhead, then you got to be like, okay, look, you got in this situation,
Right.
and we're going to keep an eye on you. But then that means like you're really hoping he gets off crack and gets back together.
Yeah. But this is just a circumstance where he's just like, hey, I'm with this lady now. And everyone's like, boo, you're out. And she gets to stay. I kind of feel bad.
I don't have any feelings about these fuckers. You know, every family runs its own fucking chaos. You know? Like, if I looked over and Vito and his chick broke up, I'd probably go with her.
Yeah, me too.
What?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
She's cooler than you.
Yeah, she's really cool.
I've known you guys, and like
Yeah.
we worked together.
I met her one time, though, and I really liked her.
Me too.
Just that one time.
I like her a lot.
Would I have to leave the job?
No, you can be here. We're
Yeah.
just not going to talk to you.
You're still expected to
Same
do the
as
work.
now, really. There's just no social whatsoever.
And I 100% for Chris and his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still friends with your last girlfriend.
What?
Yeah, me too,
Yeah.
man.
Why?
I was with her for brunch.
Really?
Yeah.
It's an odd turn of events.
Yeah, I don't know. She's just fun. She's just
Really?
a fun person. Yeah. She got a lot of new tattoos, too.
Oh, cool.
Face
like-
tattoos,
Yeah.
which is weird.
She's up to 600 tattoos.
She had MS-13.
Yeah. And
Don't bow to that, please.
here's the thing.
Please.
She also got her tongue split.
Really, like a lizard.
Yeah, I really
She's
like
working
that.
on it, but she's starting to be able to move them independently, which is cool.
That's
it
freakish.
does. I've seen it.
Yeah.
It does take practice.
Yeah.
They have to learn to do it.
Really feels good during a rim job, too.
Really?
Yeah, great. Because it's just like straight perimeter. You know what I mean? Straight perimeter rim. Would you be like if Vito started dating your ex, right?
Yes.
Would it be bad for you?
I mean, I would be weirded out. I wouldn't like it. No, I wouldn't like it at all.
Yeah, just be honest, because you're not even on speaking terms with this
No,
person.
we don't talk to each other. Haven't talked to each other. Don't have no idea what she's up to. So yeah, it would be
And how
very
many years
odd.
were you two together?
8.
That's weird, right? Somebody you know for 8 years.
There is
And
not in
you
your life.
What if you saw her in the street? Would you act like you didn't see her?
I would act like I didn't see her. I would act like I don't know her, like she's a stranger.
What if she came up to you though? And she was like, "Chris,
Like,
it's me, your girlfriend."
Hi.
From before.
What are you doing here? I have no idea. If she came out to me, I had no idea what I would fucking
But
say.
what
to her.
if she said this? Hey, I just wanted to talk about the way it ended, and I want to find out, so I will know in the future what I can do differently.
I'd say no thanks. I'd say let's better off us not
What
talking.
if she said, "Okay, I get where you're coming from, but let's also sleep together and talk about it."
I have no interest.
Really?
None.
Sounds like somebody's gay. I'm telling you, if anybody ever came to me and said I need to talk, I'd be, of course. You know what I mean? I think you still love people, even when you stop loving them.
Yeah.
That's my belief. And you're lucky to share this. You shared something in this life.
Yeah. I don't
Doesn't
have-
mean that you stay friends, but if they need anything, I think you got to go. Yeah, sure. What do you need? Want me to hide you from the cops? I'll do it.
I couldn't do it. It ended too badly.
But now time has passed, and
Yeah.
look at you're a happy person. Imagine
am.
if she is in a happy relationship. Isn't that great?
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Sure, it's great for her, but
Be nice to my new
I have
girlfriend.
nothing to do with her or her life anymore.
Right, but you shared something. You know what I
We
mean?
did.
You had a past.
Yes, we did.
I mean, like, let's say an old buddy came up to you. Would you I don't want to talk to you?
No, of course not. No.
Then this is the same thing.
Same.
You shouldn't treat that as if it's better than someone that you shared a bed with.
I want no bad things for any person I used to date.
Oh, just the opposite.
And I want good things for them, and I would be okay with bumping into them and saying hello. Every single one of them. And there are a lot.
Yeah. They're all over the place. I mean, she's got to have that philosophy. You know what I mean? It's just too common.
They make up 1% of Breezy Point.
Earl, what about for you? If you bumped into somebody that you raped in the past, would you?
I didn't rape anyone.
Admit it.
Guess who sounds like Weinstein?
That's exactly what a
This
rape
is
supposed to be.
America.
Yeah. That's so crazy, right?
Fucking crazy.
He's got no fucking idea.
That's
I mean, to me, when the cops catch you with the fucking loot in your hand, you're like, yeah, I did it. You know what I mean? I did
Yeah.
it. Let me do some time. Get this off the books. You know what I mean?
Let's get it over
Get back out and start producing movies.
You're like, I'm ready to move on.
Poor wine. I'll tell you this. You had Epstein, Weinstein. I don't know what's up with Jewish guys. They weren't perverts when I was younger. I don't know what fucking happened with them.
Give him some power and some money.
Oh, boy. You had to turn it into a fucking racist stereotype.
What?
Where I was acting like, oh, we used to have nothing but positivity.
Yeah.
All right, we got a break here, right, Jay?
We do. We have to break. We must. Bennington will be right back.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show. Bennington is back, and this is Faction Talk 103. It's the Bennington Show.
I know some creeps who think of jokes. They have a new tour. Don't mean to boast. They're hitting the road now. They're traveling. It's Robert Kelly and Florentine plus Voss and Ronnie B. Ronnie B. Ronnie B.
know some creeps who put on shows. They're coming to Detroit. Don't you know? Ridgefield Playhouse. Tampa, please. Atlanta too, and Mount Airy. They'll be at Gramercy. Gramercy.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show!
Bennington is back, and the Creeps with Kids are on tour. CreepsWithKidsTour.com. You like to stay on the road. You're a traveling man.
My home is the road, and the road, my home.
I mean, it must be like a new lifestyle for you. It's like this is just usual for you now.
No, I never get used to travel. There's nothing I despise more than airline travel. Going out to LA, coming back from LA, got my balls touched. Once from behind, and once, let me just put the back of my hands down the front. I don't know what the fuck is going on because I have everything out completely. I also got the, hey, let me put some stuff on your hands to see if you're a mad bomber.
Really?
But, you know, here's the weird thing for me with getting the balls touched. Doesn't weird me out at all. Doesn't even slightly. I hate questions. And I hate the fact, this is what I fucking hate, because I have always had a low authority thing. This 2 feet here is the only fucking place in the world that you can fucking say and act the way you're fucking saying. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Let's walk right outside. You have zero fucking power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now you're like, well, I told you to empty your pockets. My pockets are empty. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to say motherfucker, my pockets are empty. So, you know, let me tell you something. I don't want to hear about the fucking, oh, we shouldn't do the fucking frisk thing. We put up with it. Every time we go on the fucking airline, don't tell me I don't know about stop and frisk. I gotta fucking go through it. I'm not a bomber. I'm a regular fucking guy. Just a gentleman. Matter of fact, let me tell you this. If I had 2 guns and the bomb, everybody on the plane would be safe. Because I ain't using them. There's no fucking reason in the world to stop me like that. And have me take off my shoes, my belt. Oh, my keys there. Oh, let me take my wallet with all my fucking money and credit cards and put it in a thing and then not see it.
Yeah.
Till it gets over there. Oh, am I wearing my fucking Virgin Mary around my mouth? Oh, let me take that off because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
What are you, nuts? Fucking 19 years ago, an idiot tried to put a fucking firecracker in his shoe. It didn't work. And now everyone else has to take their shoes off?
Yeah.
But I act like so fucking passive when I'm there because I don't feel like going through the shit.
No. And then they don't deal with any shit either. Like just the slightest thing, I feel like they're just like, all right, you're off the flight.
I saw Chris Stanley, them screaming at him one day to pull his pants up. You're the fucking reason his pants are fucking falling down. You were making him give you a belt, and then he has to put his hands up in the air. His pants are gonna fucking fall down.
Yes.
He doesn't have the hips to fucking support the waist that he has.
This is why he has the belt. It's not for fashion.
No.
He's not a fashionable guy.
This guy, none of us have seen his belt as long as we've known him. That belt is underneath. Now, this is my only fucking thing. we readily submit to this because we have it in the back of our mind that it's important. Would you submit to that going to the mall? I guess if they just started fucking doing it, then we'd be like, oh, if you want to go into the mall, you got to fucking take your shoes off.
Yeah, I think that all of those kind of weird inconveniences, the same idea of having cameras everywhere initially felt weird. And now we're just like, well, there's cameras everywhere.
I remember when people fucking complained that there was a camera in a 7-Eleven. People were like, I'm not fucking going into the 7-Eleven,
Really?
having a camera looking at me like I'm a criminal. We used to fucking care if people suspected us of shit.
Yeah. That's really weird. Yeah, I mean, that's always been a thing in my lifetime. But then I was thinking, kind of post 9/11, how it just felt like cameras were everywhere, police cameras were everywhere, security footage being
Because that's
submitted to
how
police.
we give in.
Yeah.
That's how we fucking give in.
Yeah.
Now, here's the fucking deal. They fucking yell at Bloomberg, oh, this is a stop and you stopped and frisked these fucking people in neighborhoods that are far more fucking dangerous than an airplane full of families and businessmen and women traveling. I was at the Rolling Stone bar with two women who were talking about the road. You know what I mean? It was just the three of us sitting there. And they were like, yeah, man, I'm out. I'm out there all the time. This other woman's like, me too. She goes, I'm getting home first time in 3 weeks.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, you're not even on the road like doing shows. You know what I mean? You're on the road fucking in terrible meetings.
Yeah, you're up in the air. You're going from one corporate event to the next.
I can't believe people don't love that movie. I think it's fucking great.
I know a lot of people who live like that.
Yeah.
Where like their job just has them doing that, and it's for corporate things. It's not for creative endeavors. They're just like in one terrible meeting.
Oh, here's something that's never fucking happened in the history of the planet. People go, oh, good. The person from corporate's here to explain to us the way something works.
Yeah, that's normally not welcomed.
No one likes it because they stop you from doing your job and listening to the dumbest TED Talk that's ever.
Even beyond traveling, I had somebody tell me this, that they feel that meeting culture in work takes up so much time and so much productivity because it's a thing that people do when they don't have a lot of stuff to do, where they're like maybe even like a middle to upper middle management thing where it's like, hey, let's all meet, let's meet with the team. Nothing gets accomplished, and it's like, I got another one of these at 11. You know what I mean?
When our team has a meeting, we try to keep it to under 10 minutes because anywhere from 40 to 60% of the team, you can watch tuning it out. And here's something I can't stand. So you have the meeting, and I'll go, what's going on with this? And then somebody go, oh, let me see. And they start trying to look it up during the meeting.
Yeah.
That fucking drives me crazy. And this is what, now, that's with us, 5 people. You know what I mean? 5 people, and I'm crazy within 7 minutes. Imagine now you have 30 or 40. All you have to do is look around the room, and you just see people that have fucking tuned out like they're in school again.
Also, of course it's a cliche, but you see exactly why you can't have too many people giving opinions on one project. Because the first suggestion might be okay. The second suggestion's like, but the third and beyond are terrible, ridiculous, and should never be used.
By the way, how quickly do you think, well, that motherfucker there hasn't said shit? You know what I mean? That fucking guy always annoys me. But here's the weird thing. Me and Vito out in L.A., we never get any one-on-one time. He's fucking talking. He's pitching me fucking ideas one-on-one. We're in the car. He's got fucking ideas. And he's like, going like this. No, Ron, I think you're wrong. We really should be doing these things. And I'm like, well, if you feel that way, maybe we should take a look at it. You know, maybe I'm wrong here. But he wouldn't do that if there were, you know.
The formal setting.
The formal setting fucks people up.
I think you're right.
It's fucking doomed.
live your life like it's casual Friday. Is basically it.
And by the way, touch my balls if that's what fucking makes you excited. It really doesn't bother me. Isn't that weird? Out of all the things.
Do you feel like it's no different if they're like, we're just going to pat your jacket and feel your elbows? You're
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
the same
"Whatever."
fucking thing to me.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Very comfortable. Doesn't fucking bother. I mean, if you would think it would. I have to be honest. Doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. Doesn't fucking bother me. It's more of, sir, do you want to take a step to your left? That fucking bothers me. I go, why don't you take a fucking step to your left? By the way, I know you're not law enforcement. You're a fucking guy.
It's like when security anywhere.
Here's another fucking weird gender fluid. Why are we okay with people of the same sex touching us? Like, oh, get a guy to touch me. You know what I mean? Or is that a woman? Get a woman to touch her. Why is that the fucking thing? I'll tell you why. Because you're unwoke. You're a bunch of fucking Weinsteins living your fucking Weinstein life. Oh, Ben, have we taken down the whole fucking structure of society today?
Yep.
I mean, I thought we were just going to have a nice late Friday. No.
No.
We're fired up.
You know why we got things done? It wasn't a meeting setting. You know what I mean? Like, we're just throwing ideas in. We got a couple quiet guys, but hey, we're mostly throwing in
I will
ideas.
tell you this. The world would work better if everybody had a microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm much more comfortable with a microphone than without one. I should take a fucking microphone to the coffee shop. I'd have small talk with all those idiots.
The only fear I have with that is it's almost the idea of social media where you're your own star of your own channel at all times.
You know what I think, too, is also good about a microphone is that you can be a little more flirty and everybody would understand. Hey, you just have a microphone. You're just having a little flirty moment.
Okay, that's interesting. Because it's, you know why? There's this idea that, like, you've said it publicly.
Yeah.
So you don't mean anything scandalous. You didn't corner somebody.
Thank you.
And then be like, is this person trying to sleep with me right now? Instead, you're just like, oh, he's flirting and he's making it known to everyone. It's safer. It's a safe space.
At my hotel in L.A., I went to the counter instead of a table every day. I had a young lady who doted on me every day. She got extra tips. You know what I mean? She got fucking nice on a coffee and some scrambled eggs with a little avocado on the side.
Oh, nice. It's California. Makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah, it was very fresh. Torvita knows what I'm talking about. Chris has zero idea.
I know. What is this?
Chris, this might be a time that you want to just sit quietly and listen to the big dogs bark. So, I mean, gorgeous fucking girl. She looks like Rosario Dawson, right? What I don't say that I wanted to say the entire week is you look like Rosario Dawson because young brown girl, older creepy Weinstein looking guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That could no longer be. And we're in L.A. So it's like, hey, I got a script in my room. Why don't you come up?
Yes,
Take the elevator.
the implication there is you look like Rosario Dawson, and you could be just as famous as her with my help.
But why is that the implication?
I don't know. That's just the way the world hears it now.
I'll tell you, it's a very fucking tough time to be a white guy.
Yeah, it seems rough.
Our lives are really fucking hard. Damn, you know it's hard to be a white guy. Get a hold of our parody people.
Yes.
I think we're ready to go.
Please. It's only got one line.
Yeah, I don't need anything else.
Just the backing track and that is enough.
Vito and I were at a nice Hollywood fucking hot spot, right? And we're sitting like on a patio, beautiful fucking day. I mean, and we've been done everything. You know, I'm having a wonderful cheese plate, and life is good for the two of us. I spot someone from the movies, but he is so not big enough that I don't even tell Vito. Now, I'm going to tell you all now, because I thought to myself, rather than pointing this out, I'll save it. Just to see if anyone could make a mental picture.
Okay.
The movie is Love Actually. We've all seen this,
Yes,
right?
of course. Yeah.
The rock star's manager was
Oh, yeah.
having lunch 2 or 3 tables over for us.
Right, but you didn't feel like that sentence would have had the impact you wanted it to, so you went.
I feel like he's gotten 2 minutes more screen time than Vito has. It's just above. But no, the guy kills it in that role. I mean, he's
Right.
kind of heartbreaking because he loves his client. He
Right.
fucking loves him, and he's living happily through him. But you can't point that guy out.
Right, no. I honestly was thinking about this. He's very distinct in my mind, and yet nothing else he's done was
You couldn't
jumping
describe
out.
him to anybody.
Yeah. No. Just like, Love Actually, right? It's
I could-
probably the
I-
only thing I would be
I
able to
just
say.
feel like in this lovely day, I could not say Vito. That guy had 4 lines in Love Actually. Should we try to interview him? Very embarrassing thing that happened there too. Vito said, "I'm going to go buy a T-shirt from this place." Right? It's a very famous eatery. He came back and said, "I'm not spending $125." Now I went and looked at the tee.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
$125?
Yeah.
Yeah. And their hats were 65. I was like, I was working down the list. She was like, the sweaters are 140. I went, oh, okay, so the t-shirts then. She went 120. I said, so what about that hat? And she goes 65. And I went, oh, okay, I'll check out the way out of the restaurant.
And then he dove out the fucking bathroom window and ran down the street.
I mean, you can't take a gamble on that with a T-shirt, not with the way your weight fluctuates.
No.
Let me just say this. Oh, come on. He hasn't fluctuated in a while. Now, this guy, not only would he not be recognized in that fucking restaurant, he would not be recognized at a reunion for Love Actually. He would probably have to break out ID. And he also kind of looks like any corner man for any English boxer. But I always wonder, and then I don't think we brought this up on the air, your celebrity sighting at a bar you're in. You never
Oh, yeah.
brought it up.
So I was at a bar, and this like shorter dude walks by me, and I look at him, and he's like kind of like moving around, and like he wants to be seen, and I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking Bud Bundy, David Faustino is just showing at this bar I'm at right now. And
Bundy.
and I got really excited. I turned to my friend, and I go, yeah, that's fucking Bud Bundy. And my friend goes, what? And I go, Married with Children. You know the son, Bud Bundy?
I like the idea of like he's flailing his arms and wanting to be seen.
I'm not even sure if
Bundy,
there-
yeah.
I don't think there's a current picture of Bud Bundy. Now, Vito sent me a picture that was only people's backs. I had
Yeah.
no idea what it was.
I couldn't get a picture from the front, and I didn't
All
want to
you
go
had to
up.
say, the fucking guy would have probably held the phone for the selfie. I could have been I'm here with the fucking manager from Love Actually. We just
Greg?
made mad love. I love you too, you fucking bitch. Remember how mean they treated each other? I fucking decided to come back here with your ugly ass. Fucking hate when guys do that with each other. Hey,
Really?
douchebag. They can't fucking say I love you.
They can't just go, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I missed you.
Me and Vito, every night when he went to his more budgeted hotel than I did, I said I love you, he said I love you, and then we kissed on the mouth.
Oh, wow.
It was
Lucky.
nice.
Is that the LA way?
Wish I had that.
No, it isn't. It really isn't.
Who said that? I wish I had that.
I did.
And you are
I'm Chris Stanley. I've been here a number of years with you, Ron.
odd.
Why is that odd?
Just don't never remember you. Vito, make sure when we're around him you say his name a lot, so I'll repeat it.
Jesus
Chris.
Christ. I heard that.
By the way, if there's that favor I ask of anyone, is they say that.
I
They
know.
just say the person's name because I don't remember fucking shit.
I've had to reestablish with people before. If you ever see me in a circumstance where I'm introducing you and then I only say your name, you've got to jump in. I'm in a position.
Right.
Like, I would never be like, hey, so good to see you. this is Ron Bennington and
Right.
not say that person's name for you. And a lot of personalities will then just lean back and be like, hey, what was that person's name? And it's like, that was for you to find out. That was the why I
Motherfucker.
set you up that way.
By the way, the other person should also introduce
Yes,
themselves.
yes, I've left it open for a reason.
I had the most awkward interaction at dinner last week. Met up with my friend, and there was 2 other people at the table, and the guy's talking to me, and he's a DJ. And he's talking, and he's sitting next to this guy. He goes, yeah, you know my boy, you ever hear of Arab Music? And I go, no. He goes, Arab Music, the producer. I go, no, I haven't heard of him. And he goes, that's him.
Okay, that's
And
not
then-
how you do that.
And then I just had to be like, yeah, hey, man.
That's a reason to fucking end the friendship.
Yeah.
Now, was his name actually Arab Music?
His DJ name. I never got the guy's
Of
actual
course, that's
name.
his DJ name. That's his name.
Yeah.
I don't fucking ever turn around like I wouldn't say to Johnny Rotten. Oh, hi, John Lydon. How's everything with you? He's Johnny Rotten from that point on.
Yeah, that was a terrible position to put you in.
It was really uncomfortable. And then he looked insulted because
Sure, but
Why-
it's not your fault. It really isn't.
First of all, your Cleveland Indians hat is fucking reaching. You know what I mean?
Did you call him Mr. Music after this?
I
or-
kind of just avoided eye contact with him for the rest.
I like that though,
Yeah.
Mr. Music. Vito is very outgoing when he's your movie studio assistant. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's like, Mr. Bennington will be right with you. Can I get you some sparkling water?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You got that thing from TR about the way that he was taken care of by Vito. That really
So
made me proud.
awesome.
Because
It's
that kid
so
has been
great.
so great to us. He always sends news stories and keeps us up on the West Coast. And then he had a ball to come in. I mean, it was a very intimate thing.
That's incredibly
And-
sweet.
Yeah. He got to meet Billy Crystal. And Billy you know what Billy said to him? You look mad.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. You guys have no idea how big that "You Look Marvelous" thing was. I mean, it was fucking like people's moms. When you would be dressed up for school, they were like, "You look mad."
People's moms.
If anybody wants to see this, make sure you check it out on demand.
It's on demand on the Sirius XM app, and we have clips that also link to the full video on our Twitter at Bennington Show to the full Billy Crystal Unmasked.
That's the first time that we've ever put out the full like that, right?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
And what was the reason why we were able to do that?
because
Before we weren't because we did something.
I think this one just because they really wanted to push the Billy out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, but we've had other stuff that were big fucking people.
Also, this is pretty new to the company where they're putting full video up, and that's like a different team that just came on.
Yeah. Teen?
Team.
Oh, I thought you said teen.
It's a real clean
Inappropriate.
team. Who made that call? Adam Abernathy?
I believe.
Oh, you don't know him?
I don't know Adam.
That's very
Abernathy.
interesting. He introduced himself to me in the elevator this week, and he goes, I put up all the clips that you guys want put up
Oh, that's
on the
cool.
app. And I'm like, it's fucking great to meet you.
Yeah.
I'd like to get together sometime. I go, you probably deal with my team. And he goes like this. No. He goes, normally Jim McClure will tell me if you guys like something. I go, I want to sit down and talk because I want to find out what's the good stuff and
Sure, yeah.
what's the stuff not to bother with. Mm-hmm. And he told me right away, anything with Earl. He says, people do not care. He said, any clip of Earl. And I go, why? He goes, because he doesn't say shit. Now, we were talking about that guy that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a standard of celebrity that is cool, but not overbearing? Like, I think being Brad Pitt or George Clooney would be too much.
Yeah.
And I think for the women, it's even worse because
Yeah.
you can't walk down the street if people are going to run up to you.
I mean, what seems worse right now than being Taylor Swift? That doesn't seem
Thank
like a
you.
good situation today.
But I think a Ben Affleck could take two people just running to him. Like, Ben Affleck, he'd be like, come the fuck down.
Right.
But I don't think Taylor Swift can say, hey, Give me a little fucking space here.
Right. Although, like, I told that story once about bumping into Keanu Reeves, and there was a look behind his eye where he was just like, man, I hope nobody is on chill right now. Like, you could see it must be exhausting to have to be like, yep, Keanu Reeves.
Did you guys see Better Call Saul this week?
Didn't see it yet.
All right, so there was a guy who recognized him from his commercials, right? And he was being like a little aggressive. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Better Call Saul is like, I'm not that guy, you know, because he's living underground. And he goes, I know you are. No, say it. Just say it. And I'm like, oh, I have met, and I've been doing this a lot of times, on the occasion, a listener who was too weirdly aggressive. And I've seen it happen with Voss, where people will treat him in the joking manner that, let's say, O&A treat him.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Voss fucking crowd works a room when he walks into it.
Yeah.
Because he's not that guy. He's, you know.
Right. And I think sometimes it's a circumstance where it's like not even just too familiar, but sometimes it'll probably feel like we were in a conversation together. So they'll jump in the middle of that conversation like, hey, like you were saying, and I kind of feel like this. And you're like, that I didn't realize that was an open conversation. And you have to go, oh, yes, you were in that conversation.
I think, and there aren't even many people like this anymore, but the right level of celebrity is, let's say, what Kurt Vonnegut had. You know what I mean? Where you could go to a bookstore and people would show up.
Yeah.
You go to 92nd Street Y and people show up. But most people don't recognize you until you give them their credit card. And then they go, holy shit, Kurt Vonnegut. You know?
The very first thing I thought of when you said it was playwrights. Because you have a very small, you know, group of people who, one, know your name, and two, like would ever know your face. You have people who are a fan of your work who don't even know your face, but you have a very small group of people who are like fanatics about what you do, and yet you have full creative control. Like, for example, if Adam Rapp walked into this room, I'd be going, fuck, Adam Rapp is here, and everybody else would be like, oh, interesting, this guy's a playwright. What how many plays have you written? You know what I mean?
Now, what would you think about a Doc Simon? And I say Doc Simon because that's what Carl Reiner calls Neil Simon.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, you know, even like Mamet, I think is still probably in that.
100%. That if you saw the name David Mamet, you're like, I know that name. But he could walk through a music festival without being grabbed.
And then, you know, and because of the difference between, say, a playwright versus a screenwriter, not only are you famous within, you know, your kind of group, you also have a lot of creative control, unlike other writers.
Right. Well, now that's a whole different story.
Right.
Because a fucking TV writer, you're like, but how much of it?
Right, exactly.
Did you write? A line? 2 lines?
Yeah.
Who's got the right amount of...
I think someone like Fisher Stevens has the right amount of fame because he was a working actor in the 80s and 90s. Then he transitioned to director. He got an Academy Award. But I think still people aren't like going to Fisher.
When did Fisher Stevens get an Academy Award?
He got one for directing the documentary The Cove.
Oh, The Cove.
No one cares about a documentary fucking thing. I would say this, though. How about this? The bass player for Coldplay.
Yes. That's perfect.
Amazing.
You get to have Coldplay money.
Yeah.
And then go shopping if you'd like.
In the fucking merch store where the Coldplay fans are. You can go out and buy a fucking Coldplay shirt for yourself. But yeah, you know, we'll also know what it's like to play in front of 180,000 people.
Yes.
Or flick your fucking pick and have people dive for it. We're Coldplay, motherfucker! Ow!
And then they're just like, I got Coldplay's pick.
It's always stunning to me how many people have had that career. You know what I mean? And had it for 40 years. The fucking drummer for fucking Aerosmith. You know what I mean? He's been in Aerosmith. And I think they even divide the money up on the road like we're a band.
Yeah.
We're splitting the money, the drummer and Steven Tyler. And then every once in a while, Steven Tyler's like, are you fucking serious?
This doesn't seem fair.
But I don't even think he's as famous as like John Densmore from The Doors. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think John Densmore from The Doors Probably his people recognize him from all the documentaries and stuff.
Right, that's true.
Like a Fisher Stevens. I saw Fisher Stevens at a play once, and the only reason why I knew it is because he was with Matt Damon. No, not Matt Damon, Matt Dillon.
Oh yeah. So then he just caused his gravitational pull just
And you're
made
like,
you aware.
oh yeah, that's fucking Fisher Stevens. Just 2 steps behind him. And then everybody was like, who's Fisher Stevens when I said it?
The plague.
Yeah, the
That's
plague.
why the answer is he means famous enough to be in Hackers, but not bothered.
That's all of them. That's everybody. That's everybody in Hackers.
I feel like a pro golfer is pretty good because, like, only golf fans are gonna know who you are, and you could just blend in pretty easily.
You know what my beef is? You don't win enough.
No.
You know, if you win 2 or 3 tours in your lifetime, you're like, that's a fucking great career.
Yeah.
And I mean 1 fucking event in a tour. They're all like 3 strokes apart every week. Between 90th and fucking first is like 5 fucking strokes over what, 3 days?
There's not enough time to celebrate.
And I couldn't watch this motherfucker if I was his caddy. They don't lick blood. They don't
no.
fucking have that thing that brings us in. It's what about people that are just like a fire chief that are only famous in that minute? That everyone's like, oh, we're all here to find out what happened. And you can sit there and command like 30 fucking TV networks.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, and then you got to go stand in line in a 7-Eleven after that.
I always like when that happens where that person is very important in their local community or in their own thing, and then suddenly they're thrust into national spotlight.
Who do you think has the worst kind of fame that you could have? Harvey Weinstein? Is
Yeah,
that
that's pretty.
But let's say a non-law breaking person.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like for me that the Kardashians have fame that would not even slightly interest me.
Yeah.
You know, just fame for living your life or fighting with your sister or breaking up with someone. People are too personal with
Yeah,
them.
reality star fame in general, where they've seen you like cry and
Yeah.
they've seen the inside of your
Meltdowns.
home too. Like they know
Yeah.
what inside of your house looks like. That's too much intimacy.
I know what Kim Kardashian's fridge looks like.
Yeah.
Like I in detail.
Yeah, and it's not like you're a royal or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're just like people like literally make fun of them for their fame. Famous for nothing. Really? Take a look at his ass and tell me if it's nothing. Take all the ass you ever got in your life, put it together, and it's my left cheek. That's what I would say if I was Kim Kardashian.
Hey, we need to take a break here. Bennington, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back. This is Faction Talk 103, The Bennington Show. Faction Talk 103, it's The Bennington Show.
We are Bennington, and we know what's happening. We are Bennington, and we can do anything. Ronnie B does stand up, and he makes it look so easy. Gail does dope impressions, and Chris Stanley coughs and wheezes. We are Bennington, and we know what's happening. We are Bennington, and we can do anything.
Faction Talk 103, it's The Bennington Show.
Bennington is back, and in just a little bit, it's going to be your interview, Ron, with Bob Newhart. Just such a fantastic interview, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody.
Boy, I hope you didn't oversell this. I'm getting a little nervous now.
No.
I have to tell you, I went back and listened to this material that he had written, and it stands up so much. It's so damn funny. I wish I had the set list in front of me, but it's going to play all weekend long. I think the interview is going to play, and then this material that came from a special, but he had actually even written the material 20 years before that. So we're up to like 50 years of this material. But it's very funny because everybody's like, oh, how can stand-up hold up? But some like it hot stands up. Like no one's ever like acting like, oh, I thought that movie was funny in 1958. Now it blows.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember we were watching Duck Soup once, and we were just like, this could come out today, and we feel like it wouldn't change the amount we were laughing.
All that stuff is brilliant that they did back then. But they also had the most brilliant writers. You know what I mean? Like the writers for those movies, they were very smart to go for the funniest playwrights, and they were just great. Bob's Showtime special, Off the Record, is now being released in album form for the first time ever. And that's going to be playing all weekend long on, where were we?
Comedy Greats, Channel 94.
But everybody seems like they like that name, Comedy Greats. It's like when I book it on Mass now, they go, can we also get on Comedy Greats? And you know why? It's a name great.
Yeah.
They want, everybody wants to be one of the greats. I'm sorry, you're not Gleason. But Bob Newhart is literally a comedy great.
Yes, he is a comedy great. And you're right, all the other channels just feel like comedy okays. You want to be comedy greats with the legends.
What is there's one that just has the word laugh in it. It's the cleanest one of all.
Laugh USA.
Yeah, Laugh USA. And you can't get anything on there. You know what I mean? Like, no one is clean enough for that channel.
I think Mickey Mouse has a special.
Because somebody, like, a lot of these, and it's not the comic, but their team, their whole fucking team, and they're like, they want everything. Before you book this, and we went Laugh USA, and I'll go and ask the bosses, and they're like, no, we can't. I go, well, we're not going to say fuck. This guy's he goes, yeah, but even if it's an adult situation. Right. I go, what is an adult situation? Because we're all adults. I don't think there's children on Laugh USA. It's not Muppets. It's just 24 hours of Gaffigan. And you know something? The children really shouldn't be listening to Hot Pockets anyway. I believe Gaffigan is the one who set the fucking platform that now people are eating a fried chicken in between two glazed donuts.
Yeah. I mean, that's not safe for kids.
I'd rather see them vaping. I'd rather see a child in the crib vaping than eating that sandwich. I think they'd be better off with a fifth of vodka and a pack of Pall Malls. Speaking of which, Chris, how's your cigarettes holding up?
I'm down to a carton and a half.
Come on, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
Why? I like to smoke.
Carton and a half. Yeah. That means you smoked 2.5 cartons in a week.
Yes, it's like when I have them, and especially when they were.
Why don't you just, instead of smoking nonstop, why don't you say, this is a nice thing that I have the occasional cigarette, maybe after a meal. Oh, wait, that's probably why they're 2.5 cartons. You see what I did there, guys? I got them.
Do you know that initially when he said a carton and a half, I had forgotten. I thought that you gave him 2. I forgot that
I gave him 4 cartons.
That's really sick.
I'm coming across the border like, I don't know if they catch me with all these cartons.
Of all the addictions, the smoking addiction is the strongest.
Do you know what it's
for
like
me?
To fucking come across the feds when you got 4 cartons?
I understand.
I think I paid $120 for it or something.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to charge you $400. What? That's still a bargain, dude.
Yeah.
That's a fucking bargain.
It is a real bargain, actually.
It's money you would have spent. Think of it that way.
Seriously, I had my bag. I got 4 cartons in there. I felt like I had Craig Carton that I was fucking sleeping. I have such like a fucking shame guilt thing that I'm always like when I'm crossing borders, I'm like, I don't think I have any coke in there, do I? I don't have any coke.
I have.
Is there a gun in there?
I do that anytime I have to go through customs. And I've been doing it since I was a child, since they took the drug dogs through. And I was like in 5th grade. I'm like, do I have weed?
There's no one in 5th grade that's holding.
I was on a flight once. The flight
Hey, cool, man. Did you get a window seat or what happened?
aisle.
Yeah, you have.
So the flight going in fine, flight coming back, they found a switchblade in my bag that apparently went through LaGuardia just fine.
Apparently got a switchblade on me.
You know, when I got to L.A., I opened up my bags and there was this fucking card that said, "We went through your bag."
Oh, fuck that.
Oh my God.
It was like, it's just written for everybody. It goes, and if your bag was locked, we broke the locks.
Oh my God.
You're not supposed to have locked bags.
Now, what if you went through and you were going through everything and then you were just checking everything and then your toothbrush was wet?
This is the funny thing. I literally took another suitcase just filled with fucking the prep that Chris gave me. There was like 4 books on these comedians, and then there was all kinds of, prep work off the internet. And it was like 99% of what I had in that bag. And they were like, is this fucker stalking 90-year-old comics? And, after we did this week, everybody that, lined us up, our good friend Judy and the LA people, and they were all very excited, and these guys all had a great time doing these interviews. But they're like, we got to do more of these. And I'm like, how many more 90-year-old comics are there? Didn't you throw me every 90-year?
Yeah.
Billy Crystal was the young guy.
Yes, he was the young gun.
Although, I think he hurt all over. Everything hurts. He's embracing being old. He's one of those Jewish guys that
enjoys.
Yeah, he likes getting older.
Yeah. I've known people like that where you can tell like they can't wait to be like 70 at least.
I remember
they have that personality.
I remember that. I mean, the moment Fez turned 40, he was complaining that the interns were going to step on his feet. And I said, dude, you got to stop this. That's a grandma thing.
Yeah. You're not old enough for that behavior.
No. You got to go. I mean, you got to be in retirement before you're allowed to say, watch my feet.
The
Stop
reason
running.
has to be osteoporosis. You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know what that word means.
Some sort of weak bones that old ladies have. I think.
There used to be, like literally when I was a little kid, like black and white TV times. Any of the old lady game shows or variety shows would sell this juice called Geritol. That was supposed to be for iron poor blood. And I'm sure it was a fucking lie. But like Art Linkletter would have it on his show, Red Skelton. Oh, Geritol. It helps my iron poor blood. And the old ladies would just sip this thing.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, it was probably left over from the gypsies in a fucking wagon days.
Yeah. Have some steak. Some liver, perhaps? I think those are iron dense.
Look, there it is, Geritol.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, and I mean, now they're just saying energy support. They don't...
Right.
High potency B vitamins and iron liquid supplement. But then they just said iron poor blood.
That I
which
like.
they had to admit that that's not even a fucking term. It was just somebody going like this. That's what's wrong with me. I got iron poor blood. I really need to fucking drink this thing out of a fucking glass bottle. I'm trying to think. I mean, I have a couple people that I feel like are the great white whales of this thing, but I don't like to discuss it because, anyone else could hear it and go, oh, I'm not a great white whale.
Right.
But how many living legends do we have left?
Now, I feel like I can think of a couple who are almost more like teetering on the edge of like Billy Crystal's age, where I'm like, I feel like that's still like.
Look, have you fallen for the fact that Voss is calling himself a legend?
He was number 1, so yeah.
Talk about iron poor blood. Oh, he's tired all the time.
Yeah, that probably is.
He's tired constantly. And then, like, the way he'll walk to the stage so hesitantly. Like, I don't want to be up there. He acts like there's a gun behind his head. And then he fucking gets on stage and he kills.
Right. I've never seen him do anything else.
And he goes, like, exactly. But, like, right before he goes up, he goes, I got nothing. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And I go, you fucking have 55 hours of material. Do something from 1987.
That's such a type. Like, some comics, I think, just stay in that. I always think about when I was a kid, that's what Mitchell Walters always said.
Mitchell Walters, when I would do I forget what we called it, the Disciples of Comedy tour. We were touring theaters. And he would go like this to me, stay close. He didn't want anyone to wander away in case after 4 minutes he said, I'm leaving. And then he goes like this, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to shit my pants and get out of there. I mean, we do it almost every night.
I got the other number joke.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to shit my pants on stage to get out of there.
I'm going to ask people what area code they're from. 215. How do you like Philadelphia? Good for you? You're in the 215, right? Fucking crazy bastard. But you know who's a legend now? Who's a guy who you could put in the Bob Newhart thing that people are like, holy shit, Bob Newhart. You know?
I think that you've got to put Woody Allen there.
Well, he won't do an interview.
Yeah.
You know why? Kid stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Didn't you marry your daughter? He's always waiting for that. He's always waiting.
You could open with that to get it out of the way.
I mean, you always have that in the chamber. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way not to.
Yeah. Well, it's good you two are close. But he's just thinking to himself, I'm not going to do a fucking interview with you motherfuckers. I can't even get a movie released in this country.
Yeah.
He can't get a movie released. Woody Allen.
It's a shame that he married his daughter. Because I really feel like he would be at that status.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was at that status by 79.
Yeah.
By 1979, he was like, whoa, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
You know, and he's, you know what? When we were talking about show of shows, he was on that fucking writing staff. And he was like basically the typist.
Right.
Like, you can type, kid, get over there.
Right.
And the guys would all be riffing and he would just be typing away. That's how fucking great.
Wow.
You type. You had him. You got Doc Simon. You know, here's the thing, Carl. I don't know him, so I'm not going to refer to him as Doc. I've never heard in a professional setting everyone call him Doc. But this is the other thing Carl said. They hired Danny Simon. I don't think I ever even got a joke on him. I mean, he had nothing. But he had this little mumbling brother. It was fucking great. And I would just go like this. Hold on. I think Doc's got something.
Let's listen to Doc.
They would have to lean in while he mumbled.
So is he saying that was his nickname?
Yes.
Like everyone called him?
He's Doc, and I don't know why.
It certainly makes you sound very familiar. Like, I believe it. You guys must be close if you call him Doc.
Yeah, he's Doc to them. To me, he's Doctor. I had Vito watch My Favorite Year, and Vito, you saw that there was a character based on him.
Yeah.
The guy who just would whisper and mumble.
Yeah, the guy that
That's Doc Simon. And Vito, he kind of acted like, I kind of like My Favorite Year.
Really?
I enjoyed My Favorite Year.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I said that movies were written very differently back then, where there was more payoffs. Like, something that happened in the beginning of the movie actually came back up later.
What?
Like, so for like the whole setup of the mafia boss
yeah.
in the beginning, it all pays off at the end, and then even a
Spoiler
small
alert.
thing. Come on.
He's acting like that doesn't happen in film and TV now. It does.
I
Never
think
right.
modern comedies are a lot lazier, and it's specifically comedies aren't made as well as comedies were made back then.
I think that it's written for an audience, right? And we're like, well, we want dumb people to enjoy this as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Stupid people have every right to laugh. They need to laugh more.
You know what? Stupid people pay just as much in ticket price.
Yeah.
So.
Which is now $117. I could end up buying 4 cartons of cigarettes if I'm out at sea. You know what annoyed me about, too, when I did that duty free? I mean, I fucking felt like I could still see Miami when I went past it. It was something like so fucking cheap. It was like $40 a carton, right?
It's ridiculous.
But buy 3 cartons, get the 4th free.
Why wouldn't anyone fucking get the 4th?
I think I was the only one loading up on it.
That's insane.
And I was going like this when I was buying it. I was looking around, people go, you believe this? My friend smokes. I don't even smoke.
Did they make the announcement that we're in international waters now and you can head to duty free?
I got news for you. I didn't listen to a single fucking announcement. When they start to talk, I fucking put in earbuds. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, what, now is the time for the fucking belly flop contest?
Every cruise I went on, there would just be gates down on duty free and just people walking by and just staring in, waiting to go get their liquor. That they don't even give you. You can't even take it on the ship. Like, you can't get it until you leave the ship. So if you buy liquor in duty free, they give it to you when you get off the boat.
Yeah, because they want you drinking their liquor.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only fucking reason.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's always a gimmick with these fucking people.
Yeah.
So Bob Newhart, you got these incredible albums, which you'll hear in this interview. He just actually came to him. Like, I don't know how he did it. Because I'm like, how did you write this? It's written like, more like sketches,
Yes.
but a one-person
yeah.
sketch. And it's just so fucking funny to this day. And then he had that. Of course, he's had 2 of the greatest sitcoms in the history of sitcoms. Then he did the greatest finale that people are still talking about, his second sitcom when he woke up in his first sitcom.
Yeah.
Every day of his life, he has to talk about that.
Newhart was, and that's the second one, right? Bob Newhart Show is the first one.
Yes.
Newhart is the second. That I always remember being on when I was a kid and laughing, like you guys laughing,
Yeah.
everybody like gathering around it, and then just wanting, like finding it really funny, but then also studying the things I didn't understand were funny because I was that little,
Right. You still do that. You're still
Yeah,
like, I
so-
see people laughing. What are they
like,
up to?
and then I try to curl my face to make a smile. this is what everyone's doing right now.
I kind of weirdly preferred the first one because it was such pathetic people. You know what I mean? Like a psychologist with these people that
Yeah.
weren't improving even slightly. I don't think anyone got better.
Does anyone even have a comparable delivery to Bob Newhart? Would you say, oh, Bob Newhart has this type of delivery, here's a comic who is similar?
I mean, his delivery is so fucking odd.
Yeah.
And there's a thing that comes up in this interview. Should I give it away? All right.
Hint
So
at it.
he records these albums, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. You know what I mean? They're like, he fucking writes the material. He fucking goes, and his friend has a radio studio, so he records it in there. And they send it to some record company, and they're like, great, let's fucking record this. We'll book you into a club. And he's like, well, I've never done that before. I have no idea, And so he goes, and they just record it, and they take it away. And he's like, I hope it all worked out, And then he called him after a while and said, But he said there was an editor who went in and was taking his pauses out.
That's insane. It's insanity.
Somebody took it upon themselves, like this poor fucker.
It's like he's really searching.
Yeah, he stumbles. So we fixed it.
Now, I think what's even remarkable is he hadn't been doing that in front of an audience and yet knew what pacing worked for his jokes. I mean, that seems really strange. That seems like something you would have to figure out by going, I've noticed if I jump to this line too quick, it doesn't. That seems like you would have to test that.
Forever.
Yeah.
Particularly that kind of pauses. Some of those pauses are, borderline uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just him. Like, he has that thing. And a lot of it is because he's got a much darker heart than people realize. And he likes uncomfortability.
Right.
He likes it.
He likes to see someone squirm.
Yeah. Well, that's the odd thing about it. Earl, I'd like to ask you about the black things. I see you sitting there nice. Is there a black comic who's at that legendary thing?
I would say, I have to say Eddie Murphy. He's there.
Stop it.
Come on.
He's the.
I know, but he's not 90. Eddie Murphy's like 58, 59. Here's the guy I think that disappeared. Matter of fact, I bet you guys have no idea who he was. And he was fucking gigantic. I mean, he was bigger than anybody. And that was Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson had a variety show that was so fucking gigantic. And then it was over. He was like, I'm done with this shit.
That's all he did. I mean, he did stand up and
He did stand up. He had a variety show. And like he would dress up as a woman named Geraldine that was very, very sassy. And he'd be like, I'm going to get my husband a killer. I'm going to get my boyfriend a killer. Whip your ass. And America would just be rocking back and forth, going, yes, that's how black women are. None of this would fly now, like most comedy. It would not fly now.
Yeah, he quit on top. The show was still a hit when he quit.
And he just walked away from it all.
Chappelle style.
Yeah. He was the early Chappelle.
Yeah.
He was the early Chappelle. I mean, I guess he knew it wasn't funny. You know, back in the day. He's like, these white people are laughing at this. No black people are. I got killer coming over here today. Everybody would do impressions of it, you know.
By the way, that just made me think of something. This was after Chappelle had walked away and before his comeback.
Yeah.
One time I was overhearing this dad talking to their son, and the son was asking something. He was just a kid, and he said, but who's Dave Chappelle? I don't know what started this conversation. He goes, well, he's a guy who's crazy because he walked away from a lot of money. And I was like, that's your description of who Dave Chappelle is? He's a mentally ill man who doesn't love money.
There was definitely a campaign that, you know, all the media was on board that Dave Chappelle is going crazy.
Yeah.
And then they acted like, well, he went to Africa. You know what I mean? And I mean, he literally took a vacation to Africa, but they made it sound like that he had run into the jungle,
Right?
like
Just
some
joined a
kind
tribe.
of modern day Tarzan, and was living amongst the animals. I mean, it just was like everywhere. Like, oh, Dave Chappelle had a nervous breakdown, and he's crazy, and he was just like, I don't have any more material to fucking, you know, keep giving you people. You know what I mean? Like, this thing stopped being fun for me. I'm going to take a step back. I have money.
Right. Yeah, I just thought it was so funny that after all that, at that time, like, that was the way this person would just sum up a man's life.
Yeah, but if you were, like, reading any fucking magazine or newspaper, you would have said the same thing. I mean, if you were a person who didn't pay attention, you'd be like, well, he could have made, I forget what it was, like $50 million for a couple of years or whatever. It's not like there was a fucking $50 million pile of money sitting there and he just stepped over it. You know what I mean? It was a contract.
Right.
And I think that they were doing shit with his show that he wasn't happy about, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
He asked for a break, and then they just went behind his back, had Charlie Murphy present all the clips behind his back, and that's when he said, I'm
Like
done.
3
Yeah,
episodes.
fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Just fuck you guys.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of anyone said Comedy Central treated me so well. So
They don't have that reputation,
Yeah.
do they?
they were very smart just to put the word comedy in the title of it. And people are like, that's where I go for comedy. I don't know what happens. They put a special on. Everyone's like, I got a Comedy Central special. It runs Friday at midnight. And then no one knows what happens to it. Oh, well, it's available online. How? You know, what am I supposed to do? Go to your website and fucking stream it?
What the good thing is that's where they get all the comedy centralized. You know, just
Yes,
like right here in
it's
the
central. It's a central thing.
If you turn that channel on now, it's 90% Office reruns. They just run Office
I was gonna
reruns
say, I feel
all
like that
day
they
long.
don't have almost like a voice or a brand anymore.
Well, Aquafina just started on there, but I haven't heard anybody talk about her show.
And everybody's talking about her like she's the greatest thing
Yeah.
ever. Like everything she does seems like to be the fucking long ball. But this is the first I heard that she had a show.
Me too. Yeah.
Remember when they would just run Tosh constantly?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was like the
was
Tosh channel.
It was Tosh Network.
Yeah. And Tosh, The thing is, once you had YouTube, you didn't need Tosh. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
You could just sit there and make fun of these videos by yourself, but still rocking, right? You're
Yeah.
still making things.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that was still
Yeah,
going
Tosh
on.
Tosh.0 is still going, and then MTV has their version with some dude named Rob Dyrdek, and that's on that channel 24/7.
Rob Dyrdek
Oh.
is a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, he was a 90s skateboarder.
Right,
the
right.
guy's old. He ain't skateboarding
Right,
now.
true.
Remember, it was like Biggie and Rob or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
shit.
Rob Big, it was him and his.
And you're just like, you seem way too old to be on MTV.
Yeah, they definitely were. And I remember watching that show and being like, oh, this is kind of adorable. They have like a cute little,
Right.
you know, they have a cute little
Bromance.
relationship. And then it stopped being big and it was just like Rob in a big warehouse.
His fantasy factory. That's where, he went to just skate and market products.
And then he had hired who used to be like his dumb intern. And then she was like a central character of the show. And I was like, well, this is getting nuts, isn't it?
I think he has game shows now or something, right?
Now his main thing is this show Ridiculousness that is just Tosh.0 on.
Yeah, on a giant TV. There's a
Yeah.
giant in-studio TV, and he has like a panelist.
And one of his panelists is that dumb intern that became his assistant and now is Chanel West Coast.
Yeah. So it's very strange that he's stuck around that way.
And didn't Big die?
Big did die.
I think
yeah.
Big died, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
You know
really
what?
sad.
Yeah, poor Big.
I really like
he was
Big.
too big.
The Impractical Jokers have that game show, and whether you guys have seen it, it drives me nuts because like they'll show something, and then you have to guess what the fucking scale is of how bad this is, right?
Okay.
So they'll give you two things. One's a person's pants fall down.
Okay.
And the next one, a guy gets hit in the fucking teeth with a bowling ball. So you got to go, okay, which one is like fucking worse for you?
Okay. I'll write
And
mine
then
down.
there's shrinks that we never see that gauge it. And they always act like any embarrassment is worse than physical pain.
It's bullshit.
And I'm like, you're fucking crazy.
No, because
Physical pain is the worst.
physical pain sucks so bad because embarrassment, you can convince yourself that you're not embarrassed. Or at least I can. You know what I mean? Like something horrible happens to you and you're like, I'm going to shake this moment off. I'm not going to treat it like a big deal.
Of course.
But you can't do that when your arm is broken.
The weird thing is embarrassment is kind of an invented thing.
Right.
Like there is some people who just are like thinking all the time, I hope I don't fart. I hope I don't fart. You know what I mean? Like they literally are
Sure.
nervous about the fact that they could fart. And then there's other people going, did someone step on a duck? And then they laugh.
Right.
Or they'll just fucking put their ass up against the side of someone's face and fart into it.
Yes.
So who's right and who's wrong?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
You've
Where
decided.
physical pain, I think we all agree we don't want it.
No, it doesn't feel good.
Other than some spanking people.
Sure. But yeah, and by the way, what you said, someone asked me about doing yoga once, and then they told me that they've never gone to a yoga class because of their extreme fear of farting.
Right.
And I was like, it's never even occurred to me. But I mean, I guess I could fart anywhere and I wouldn't be happy about it. But I can't believe you've stayed away from this one activity.
Well, because you're leaning over and you're just changing your body. And
Is this something? Do people lean over and fart? Maybe that's the thing I don't understand.
I don't know whether it's ever been done, but it is, and because it's women that are fearful of this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, instead of just yelling out, hey, the train's here, you know, and then having a good laugh with all your friends.
I love it. Vito gets my farts all the time. I don't bother him.
There's something wrong with you, though, Chris.
Gastrointestinally.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you don't digest.
No, it's terrible. And also, as for embarrassment, I shit myself after falling down in front of a group full of people in the lobby of this building. Whatever. It happens.
When you were saying
It happened to you, but it doesn't happen.
and you shit yourself from pain?
I think I was pain.
It's both.
It was both. It was pain and just like my general shadiness of my stomach.
Did you blow out a knee or something
Yeah.
when you did it?
Yeah,
Like
ankle and knee, yeah.
Like an ACL or something? Like
MCL, right?
a serious athletic.
Yeah.
Wait, you blew out your knee because you shit yourself?
No, because I fell,
So strong.
blew out the knee,
violent.
rolled the ankle, and then there was shit.
There was shit. He acted like it fell from the sky.
And somehow.
By the way, this is no way to set up.
This is terrible.
Fucking Doc Simon's friend, Bob Newhart.
This is not good.
Oh.
This doesn't describe his brand of humor in any way.
Remember when he said that he was a little kid and he was in a bouncy house? It was so much fun that he pissed.
Yeah, it was
He
fantastic.
pissed all over.
He joy pissed.
I was so happy. It was in the gym of a PS 166.
It's his version of childhood coming. Which I kind of feel like when he has sex, he just pisses.
I'm pretty sure it's cum, Ron.
Did you have to get sent home?
I don't remember being sent home. I think I just
Fell in your
sat
belly
there.
and started licking the piss. So excited. I can't believe this bouncy house.
Because when I was a kid, I went to a school that had uniforms. So everyone always knew when someone pissed themselves because you had to put on your leftover gym shorts. So you'd be like in a polo shirt and gym shorts, and everyone's like, "Pissed yourself, huh?"
Here's what I say. Send that poor little monkey home. That's a day off. Just say, hey, flu. You had to send him home.
Yeah, he's not well.
You can't say bouncy house.
Right.
No, I spent the day covered in my own piss.
This should be about Mr. Bob Newhart.
Yes.
A 90-year-old genius. A 90-year-old genius, and you're turning it into you shit yourself,
Yeah.
you pissed yourself.
You're not in
Not
comedy
the
greats
Fart
at
too
all.
much.
You're
No.
in Raw Dog, dude.
He'll never get on. I believe it's called Laugh Factory. What is it again? Laugh USA?
Laugh USA.
I believe that's pronounced USA.
Oh.
His Showtime special, Off the Record. This is Mr. Bob Newhart. Now being released in an album form for the first time ever. It's been digitally remastered. And like I said, Bob is 90 years old. And the thing that I loved about it is that he just lit up talking about this.
Yeah.
There's something to comedians about comedy that is life affirming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's such a great interview. It's such a good rapport between the two of you.
Would you please? You're putting so much pressure
sorry.
on people because this thing is probably not that good. It's probably
No.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
I enjoyed just sitting with Bob again. You know, just the two of us. And like I said, he's 90, and I interviewed him 12 years before, so I promise at the end of this I'm going to interview him 12 years from now. And let's all keep our fingers crossed.
I hope
You know.
so.
And then the next day I went out and talked to a 97-year-old man.
Yeah, you had honestly last week was your tour of the comedy greats. I mean, you just
It
sat
was.
down with legend after legend, and I thought it was really sweet that you had young Vito with you, like showing him the ropes.
Not getting a single reference. He had no idea. He's like, why does everyone keep saying Jack Carter? Because we ended up, this happened off the air, but we were talking about people who are funnier when they're angry. And then he said to me, Jack Carter couldn't be funny unless he was really angry. There was no, like, if
Right.
he came in a good mood, he bombed.
That's really funny.
But if he was screaming about the problems of the world, everybody was laughing their ass off. Albert Brooks always had that for me.
Yeah. Him in a place of annoyance is like one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, it is. He, of course, and Carl brought him up. Wait to hear the Carl thing when he talks about Albert Brooks when Albert was 16 years old. It's a crazy week, like you pointed out. But this is the one and only Bob Newhart, one of the true legends of comedy. And when we play this over the weekend, the special is going to run right after it. So make sure, if you're a comedy fan at all, that you tune in, you listen to Off the Record this weekend. Bob Newhart.
We'll be right back. This is Faction Talk 103, The Bennington Show. Bennington is back, and this is Faction Talk 103, The Bennington Show.
SiriusXM studios in Los Angeles, California. Ron Bennington sits down with the great Bob Newhart to talk about his special Off the Record and his legendary career. Here's your host, Ron Bennington.
Thanks so much for being here. This is one of the great honors of my life to be here with the unbelievable Bob Newhart. Bob's 1992 special, Off the Record, is a live concert special featuring Bob's most classic material. Now, this TV special aired in 1992, but has never been released as audio until now. It's digitized and remastered, and it's finding new life in 2020. This is one of the most unbelievable comedy stories of all time. Bob Newhart went from being completely unknown when he started to do this material to the biggest comedy star in America. And he just celebrated 60 years in the business. Bob's 90 years old now. And the amazing thing is, this is also the 60th anniversary of the release of the button-down mind of Bob Newhart. As I said, Bob was completely unknown, recorded this material, and had the #1 and #2 albums in the country at the same time. And I'm not talking about the #1 comedy album and the #2 comedy album, the #1 album and the #2 album. It never happened again until Guns N' Roses and that whole Use Your Illusion get-together that we all had. This is also incredible because this material is just as fresh as it's ever been, and that's also impossible in comedy. But when I sat down to listen to this stuff, I'm laughing like it came out today. It's a phenomenal thing. Bob is a true comedy legend. As a matter of fact, at the Paley Honors this year, he was honored along with Carol Burnett, Norman Lear, Carl Reiner, and Lily Tomlin. That's his peers, and that's the group Bob belongs in. Two unbelievable sitcoms. He's still touring today at the age of 90, and I'll just say the same thing I said when I start this. This is one of the great honors of my life. So let's welcome the one and only Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart's 1992 special, Off the Record, is a live concert special featuring Bob's most classic material. The special aired in 1992, but has never been released as audio until now. Digitized and remastered to find new life in 2020. Bob Newhart, so great to see you again, my friend.
Thank you, Ron.
I will also say this. I had a chance to listen to this after not, of course, hearing this material, and was laughing immediately and throughout it. It's impossible to have evergreen stand-up material, and yet somehow you've managed to do it.
Well, I had a friend of mine in Chicago named Dan Sork, and he called me one day, and he said the Warner Brother record people are in town, and I've been talking to him, and I said, I got this guy, I think he's funny, and they said, well, have him put some of his stuff down on tape, and we'll listen to it. So I borrowed a tape recorder. I couldn't afford one myself. And I recorded Abe Lincoln, Submarine Commander, and the driving instructor. Those were the three. And they just struck me funny. You know, I mean, I heard about it, and then you have the idea, and then you got to write it. Although there was no outlet for. I mean, I wasn't looking to do stand-up or anything.
Wasn't even a dream for you to do stand-up.
No. I was huge fans of Bob and Ray.
Oh yeah.
And And so another guy and I, Ed Gallagher and I, we were a comedy team, and we put out a syndicated radio show. And it wound up in 3 cities. It wound up in Idaho Falls, Idaho, 2 other cities, Northampton, Mass, and I forget the second one, but
Not exactly big market radio.
No, this was not even coast to coast. You know? So 2 of the stations, they asked Ed and I, what are you going to charge for it? I said, I don't know, 5-minute radio shows for a week. I said, $25, I guess. So we then found out that it cost more than that to just supply the program to the 3 stations, and then one of the stations stiffed us. So I had this material, but so it cost us money.
Sure.
And myself, it cost us like $400 to have this syndicated radio show. So anyway, Dan knew about it, so I put down the material on tape, and I took it down and gave it to Jim Conklin of Warner Brother Records. It was just a new record label, good music, and that was all they were gonna. No rock and roll, nothing.
Yeah.
No. So they had the Everly Brothers and myself. Those were the 2, and Joni Summers. And so they said, we liked the album. We liked it. So, okay, we'll give you a recording contract. This is 1959. So I said, great. I had nothing else going. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And so they said, okay, we'll record you at your next nightclub. And I said, we got a problem there. I never played a nightclub.
Right.
So they said, well, we'll have to get you into a nightclub. So that took about a year to find a club that would take a chance on a guy who had never been on a nightclub floor before. So they found a place in Houston, Texas. And it went down. I was the opening act for Ken and Mitzi Welch. Ken and Mitzi Welch they wrote a lot of special material for Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
So, and they had a very New York she kind of show. And I opened for them. So, but I only had one side of the album. People say, "What do you mean? What 2 sides? Of what?" You know, that's all there is.
That's it. Side. That's as much material.
No. So we had an A and a B side. So I had to. So I would go out after the show. We'd go up to my room or their room, and because I had to fill up the album while I was down there for 2 weeks. So I said, well, I had an idea, and they said, try it tomorrow. So I tried tomorrow, you know, and then you're working on it, so it takes a while, but finally. So I filled up the other side of the album, and we had 3. Now there's Conklin, George Avakian, Hal Cook, and made the album in January, I think, end of January 1960. And so my friends were calling me up. Now this is April, and they said, "You made it a record album or something, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know whatever happened to it." So I go, let me call Warner Brothers. So I called Warner Brothers and I said, "Look, hi, this is Bob Newhart. I made an album for you a couple months ago." Oh yeah. And I said, "Well, I just wonder when it's coming out." And they said, "Well, it's going crazy in Minneapolis. The disc jockeys have picked up on it, and in the newspapers they publicize 5:30 driving instructor, 7:30 submarine commander.
Right.
It's going crazy.
Like they were TV listings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not being really played anywhere else but Minneapolis at first.
No, I think what broke it was I learned all these terms, broke it,
Yeah,
things
sure.
like that. And what broke it, I was playing a club in Minneapolis called Freddy's, and I got a call from Bob Finkel, who was producing the 1960 Emmy Awards, and they wanted me to do Abe Lincoln. That was kind of the theme of the show. So I went to Freddie, and I went to Pete, that was his name. He owned the club. And I said, I got a chance to go in to L.A. and do the Emmy show. He said, okay, we'll tack on your days. And it was doing nicely, very nicely. And I think that, so the host was Steve Allen, and there was, of course, Don Knotts and Tom Poston, Louis Nye, all the guys.
His whole
from
gang, yeah.
His gang, yeah. And that kind of broke the record, and then it started to get some.
But here you are, you're this young man who's never really performed stand-up.
No.
And you have, the first time you're doing stand-up, you're being recorded for an album. And then before you know it, you're on the Emmy Awards with these giants of comedy.
Yeah, and
that'd be overwhelming.
They were treating me like I was one of them. You know, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm standing there. That's Louis Nye.
Yeah.
That's Louis Nye. And they became good friends after the
Sure.
record broke. You know, Tom especially, and Don Knotts and Louis.
That's one of the funny things about comedians, too, is all they're looking for is funny. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter what background anybody has. If you're funny, you're in. And you got that first up, but the pressure must have been amazing for you as a young guy.
Well, we had one show Friday night and two shows Saturday. So the Friday night show, I have a drunk in the audience who just keeps saying, "That's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of crap." So now we go upstairs to listen to the tape, and she's clearer than I am. You can hear her better than you can hear me. So that left us two shows, which is Saturday night, which we did, and.
But it must have been so nerve-wracking. Here you are knowing that you have this thing that you've never done before, and it's being recorded.
But, you know, Ron, what I guess you learn at the first day of stand-up is you can't show any fear.
Right.
You've got to look like you're in control. Because if you don't, the audience gets nervous. So
Yes, of course.
So you walk out there with all the bravado.
Yeah.
I remember I was so green. This is after the record came out, and I was playing Harris Club in Lake Tahoe. And I came off at my 18 minutes. I was opening for Peggy Lee. So I do my 18 minutes. I'm coming off. And the stage manager said, go back out. He said, they're applauding. I said, that's all I have. He said, well, go back out.
Yeah.
So I went back out and I said, well, which one would you like to hear again?
Oh, that had to be so wild, too, just being this kid from the Midwest. And there you are with Peggy Lee, and you got 18 minutes to do, but then you got another 23 hours and 40 minutes to think about the next show.
That's right. This is off the record.
Yeah.
The original album, when it came out, I don't know who edited it, but I had nothing to say about it. I was in no position to say, oh, no, I insist on editing it. So they would hear silence, and they go, okay, yeah, we picked up. What did we pick up? A second and a third. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Here's another spacer. So the timing when I heard it was like fingernails on a blackboard. It was like, ah. So one of the reasons for the album was so I could do it the way I heard it. I mean, even though it was a huge hit,
Yeah.
far beyond anything I expected, but I had to. It's like a musician, you know. It's a 30-second note. It's not a 16th note.
Right.
And if you make it a 16th note, it's like jarring to you. It's like, oh.
Somebody went in and edited the famous Bob Newhart pause. It's the craziest thing. I've never heard that until now.
Yeah.
But someone's like, oh, well, don't worry, we'll tighten it up. And everything that you do is for that, and that's just amazing to me. I'd never.
Well,
heard that
the
before.
pauses are, you know, it's like in music, you know.
Sure.
It's like some of the jazz. The silence is more important than the sound. you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. I remember that I did something with you live years ago. We did it in New York City. We did it at the Comics Comedy Club, and there was hundreds of people there. And your pauses, I got to feel that tension in the audience, and then you would drop the hammer, and I would feel that explosion. And I tell comics about this all the time. Everyone's always just amazed that I had that experience with you. But they're like, what did it feel like to be in the middle of that? And I go, it was amazing, because I could feel what was happening between you and the audience. To think that somebody would come in and edit that is just insane to me. It's crazy.
You hear it, you know, you hear it in your head, and there's like a voice, and it says, now.
Right. What's interesting is that you know you've got that bullet in the gun that's coming. You know what I mean? Like, this would be every comic fears silence. A lot of comics will just ramble, but the great ones understand where that comes from.
Well, not to include myself among the great ones, but I mean, Jack Benny.
Yes.
Jack Benny, to me, was the bravest comedian I've ever seen work. Because he wasn't afraid of silence. He almost welcomed it, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't think of Jack as a brave stand-up, but he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't afraid of. You know, Henny Youngman would panic if, you know,
Henny would scream. And,
2 seconds went by.
That is very, very true. I always thought it was really funny, too, that he had kind of lost the timing on Take My Wife, Please. Because it's, you know, take my wife, please. But then he would go, take my wife, please. And then, you know, hope for the same laugh, because it became a catchphrase.
Well, you know, that's what's interesting about Take My Wife, Please. When there was something going on in the country in comedy, the college kids, they weren't going to nightclubs because all the jokes were, take my wife, please. My wife is so neat. Last night I went to the bathroom, and I came back and the bed was made.
Right.
You know, so it was all about married life, so we came along. I just say we, Mike and Elaine, Mort Saul, Shelley Berman, myself, Johnny Winters, Lenny Bruce, and we weren't doing wife jokes. We were doing really concerns about the world.
It was it was in the zeitgeist. There's no doubt about that. There was a change going on, and I had done a show with Ricky Gervais and Jerry Seinfeld, and I said I think Bob was the first person to do modern comedy, and we sat around and talked about that, because wherever it was, it seems like a turn was happening. But that, your first two albums, there was something just so different what happened. And to know that you sat down and wrote this, without testing the material anyway, it's still stunning to this day. I mean, it's almost as if Dylan sat down and did his first couple albums without actually singing out loud. He just like, here, like I got these songs. Because everything about stand-up needs to be shaped in front of an audience, and you didn't have that opportunity.
But it's the only thing I had going. I mean, I had nothing else going.
Right.
It was all over. I mean,
Yeah.
I was back to accounting,
Yeah. It was. Here's the other thing too, Bob, that's so stunning about this material. And I'm listening to it again now. It is so subversive. The things that are brought up is almost like the dangers of marketing. This is still a fairly new idea today. And I'm like, where did he get these ideas? And to come at this from this, because you're never blunt about it for a second. You know what I mean? And it seems like you expect your audience to understand where you're going every moment with this.
That was what set it apart from before. That you gave the audience credit for a certain amount of intelligence, and you could talk about Abe Lincoln. Mike and Elaine could talk about a funeral home and funeral. I mean,
Yeah.
just saying it makes me start to laugh. It was, all the different things that were available. Like, I'd say, well, and Mike is, and Elaine is the grief girl to his grief girl. His uncle has died.
Yeah.
And so they have three prices. They have one is $12,000. That's the Boston Pops. The second one, I forget the second one, and the third one is a high school girl comes in and does Tico Tico. Nobody was doing that.
No one was doing that at all.
And Lenny had a foot in both worlds.
Right.
He had the old world and this new world.
Yeah. And you didn't have that nightclub background that he did, so that he would do that, But there was, I mean, to this day, do you know what was happening that made that change happen, or just
No.
Yeah.
I think I look back now on the time.
Yeah.
I was just being carried along by it, and I'm going whatever,
Right.
whatever.
But there was something in the subconscious that was saying there's a change coming. And comedy is still, I believe, riding that crest today. I think that's why some of your work is so timeless, because comedy, a lot of it ages like bread. You could listen to something 2 years ago that made you laugh, and it doesn't make you laugh today. And some of the things I think is interesting is that your references, if you really think about it, when you're bringing up Gettysburg and Lincoln, I mean, it was already dated material. It was just, if you would have said Kennedy instead of Lincoln, maybe it wouldn't have held up the same way.
Oh, I never thought about it.
Yeah.
I always thought. Well, I took Lincoln. It came out of a book called The Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard, and it was about the advertising and how scientific it had become, and was about the packaging of the president, which would have been 1960. I guess that would have been
Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, that's right, because I campaigned. The record hadn't come out yet, and I was campaigning for Kennedy.
But you thought, what if this happened with Lincoln?
Well,
What if it was Lincoln?
I took, and I've done it a lot. I mean, I've had a chance to look back on my work and see what happened. And it's two divergent ideas. One is Abe Lincoln. Now, what if Abe Lincoln, who's one of the most revered presidents of all of the presidents, what if Abe Lincoln goes to a handler today? What would they find wrong with his approach to running for president? it turns out almost everything.
Everything, yeah.
Almost everything.
Which is why we don't get a Lincoln anymore, I guess, that it gets touched so much on the way. But I really do find what's brilliant about that is that it's comparing even American marketing with kind of propaganda. That's the subversive thing. It's basically a warning set out in a comedy piece.
Well, yeah, that was some people think I was making fun of Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
I was making fun of the process.
Yeah.
That was finding its way into, and then would have these great ideas that Lincoln had. No, you got to get rid of that, and the so pipe hat, and the. Yeah.
And that is still, we're still very early into the marketing age. You know what I mean? At that point. Although all the big brands were made at that time in the 50s into the early 60s, Mad Men did that thing about it. So we're even more concerned about it now, and yet I think even more powerless than when you wrote this piece because it's on a constant level.
Yeah.
Again, when we look back on this, and I know you say that you don't include yourself with some of the greats, but there's something so genius that took place here that we're still looking back at this work and still.
All right, I'm tired of arguing. I'm a genius. All right,
good.
Right. Have it your way.
Another thing that came in that it reminds me of marketing is that the baseball bit is so damn funny because you really make the point that baseball does not work as a game.
Well, that was one of the routines that I didn't have yet. This is one of the routines I wrote while I was down in Houston. That's
with a gun to your head.
I would say, yeah. What if I don't have enough? You can't put this out as one-sided. No, it's an album. There has to be, on the other side has to be something. I would, Ken and Mitzi, I said, well, I had this idea about baseball. When you really think about it, it's really weird. And they said, do that tomorrow. Try that tomorrow.
Try that tomorrow. Maybe it'll stick around for 60 years, 70 years, however long it's going to be here now. There's no... and again, it's another one of those things of you take something that organically works, that we already have, and yet people try to fix it. It reminds you of what happens if you try to write a book or put out a movie.
The advertising world.
Yeah.
That's why the album, which I had nothing to do with the title, the Button Down Mind. I had no idea what it was. That was Warner Brothers. And it's because the theme was about advertising and merchandising, and that was part of the album.
But you had no idea that's what you were really writing. You were just going for comedy. You were just thinking of things that were funny to you. I always think
Larry Gilbert said, Larry,
sure.
of course, he was writer and producer of MASH, the TV show, and he was on Sid Caesar's show, and he said the comedian or the comedy writer sees life through a different lens. Something jumps out at you, that other people have taken for granted. I was in New York, and I'm in a car, and I'm driving. I think it was up 6th Avenue, and I'm looking out, and I see that there's a sign, psychic. Lost our lease, going out of business, right? So now I'm thinking to myself, and people walking by this, and it's not bothering me. I'm thinking, wait a minute. He's a psychic. He should have known he was going to lose his lease.
And that's just that.
But that's what a comedian does. He sees something, and
So are comedians born or are they made? That's the... because I think you can always work on craft.
Well, there are we would call them technicians.
Yeah.
That they never came up with a funny line, and if you had a gun to their forehead, they couldn't.
Yeah.
But they were technicians, and they were great. I mean, in a lot of cases, they stole material.
Right.
But they would do it better than the guy they stole it from. They would time it better or set it up better, and I don't know. I think you're born. I think
Yeah.
you're born.
I think the people that we all enjoy are the natural comedians. There's certain people and Sid Caesar was one of them. He could be furious and you're laughing. And, you know what I mean? Because his anger is hilarious. I don't even know if he meant to do it. Most of the stories that people will tell about Caesar are very unpleasant stories, and yet you're laughing so hard listening to it. You brought up
a lot of humor comes from anger. Just people talking about, you can't believe what happened. Well,
yeah. Frustration is a powerful tool for comedy. You know, you brought up stealing, and I thought it was amazing that in this TV series, Mrs. Maisel, right off they attempt to steal a bit of yours. Did you know that was coming? Did they check?
No, I think, well, they probably had to write me, or a representative of mine, asking if they could use the material on. But that happens quite a bit. You know, they want to use this clip from that show. What is it? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's good. That's fine. So no, I didn't know that's where
it was going. Were you amazed to see it, or?
No, I'd heard about it.
Yeah,
and then I finally got to see it. Yeah, and but the guy's timing. He was his fingers on the blackboard. It was, oh boy.
You're like a violinist that you could hear a bad note and it just kills you. But I thought that they did such a great job of grabbing that era, you know? It's the era that you started in, and it's really kind of a different America than we have now. It's a different way that people
I looked it up. I went to the trouble, because I looked it up once before. In 1960... there were 181 million people in the United States. Today, there are 3,300,000, I think.
Yeah, 300 million plus. It's just about doubled.
It's almost doubled,
Yeah, and oddly, the same amount of roads. You know what I mean? So you talk about what are we doing to ourselves? I mean, you could drive in and out of New York then. In 1960, you wouldn't have to wait 2.5, 3 hours to do it. But people dressed differently. People went out for a night. I mean, you were in that era when being a nightclub comedian still had an elegance to it, right? It wasn't like being a bar comic is now. People went out for a night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and your contemporaries. I mean, there were so many great people getting the start the same time as you, whether it was Woody Allen, Joan Rivers. I think Bill Cosby came right.
Bill was kind of behind us.
Yeah, by a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But those, I mean, it was just a stunning generation of comics. And you mentioned Nichols and May. And yet out of everybody.
I think Tom Lehrer probably started it. I think he was the one who.
That's a great name.
Start the movement.
Yeah, and he's somewhat forgotten. It's always interesting of who gets remembered and who gets forgotten. And I think a great deal of that has to do with the way that you wrote those. But I mean, those were. You're doing not so much a monologue, but a half a dialogue. In a lot of ways. I mean, it's still a very unique way to write. Did you sit down pen and paper, or did you talk that out? How did you write a lot of that material?
The good stuff, it wrote itself. It was a question of how long.
Right.
You want to make it 15 minutes? You want to make it 8 minutes? I mean, when do you stop? The really good ideas, the Abe Lincoln routine.
It's just flowing through you.
It's how long you want to make the pants,
Right. I have interviewed so many great songwriters, and I've never heard one take credit. They're just like, that song showed up. It was just delivered to me in full. But they'll say they go back and every day try, and that doesn't happen again. But they honestly, and they all have a different way of describing it. Oh, a vessel, a light, I had an antenna. But it's the same story, more or less, that this song showed up. And it does kind of make you wonder where thought comes from, where creativity comes from.
Yeah. I sure as hell don't have the answer.
I think even tying it in, you have that great Edison joke in this special, which again, all that creativity, no matter where it comes from, it does seem to be magical. And you got that gift handed to you as a very
you
young
almost hate describing it.
Yes.
You're afraid you're going to kill it somehow. You don't want to analyze it too much. It's there and it happens, and thank God it does. And
yet here you are still performing after all these years. And I mean, you just won an Emmy for your work not too long ago. You've had great success in television. You've done movies, and it all comes from whatever happened at that first point. Whatever just came along and touched you and made you have the crazy thought of maybe I can do something with this. No experience, no way of knowing.
It meant going back to accounting. I mean, this really was the end of. I mean, one night I'm living in Chicago with my parents because I can't afford anything better, and now the guys I went to college with, they're getting married and having families and buying homes, and I'm at it's Christmas time and I'm at VL&A in Chicago, which is Abercrombie and Fitch in the cigar department. And I said, "You really screwed up your life this time, boy."
You really thought it was over for you?
Yeah, there was nothing on the horizon. Then there was a recording contract, and then
boom, on into one project to the next. I always think too that
I'll tell you how, Ron. I'll tell you how important it was. How important comedy was to me. I once thought of taking a job on the DEW line. Do you remember the DEW line?
No.
It was called the Distant Early Warning System. It was a bunch of radar sites in northernmost Canada.
You were going to know if they were shooting missiles towards us?
No, yeah. I was going to warn.
Watch out, everybody.
And because they paid great money, because you were stuck.
Yeah.
They're just polar bears,
Yeah.
Who the hell do you talk to,
Wow, would that have been a different life that you would have picked for yourself?
But in doing that, I could have made enough money to try another year in comedy to see if that, is this going to work?
I also think it's interesting too, and there's very few jobs like this, but you always talk about the fact that you've never really been comfortable right before you walk out on stage, that you always feel attention.
I had. I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still. Somebody asked me once. I hadn't been asked it before. Somebody said, "Okay, it's 6:30, and your show is at 8:30, and you're in the hotel. What are you doing?" I said, "I'm pacing."
That's
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
You get up, and what can go wrong?
It's almost like being a fighter. You ever see a fighter before a fight? He's pacing back and forth. He's living it. Do you kind of?
I've seen Rickles. Rickles and I were good friends. He starts warming up. He orders some food, and then he turns on the waiter. All he's doing is warming up.
Poor waiter comes in. He's getting crowd worked by Rickles.
What's your name, my friend?
I've heard Rickles say that between the two of you, though, you have the darker sense of humor than he does. Rickles would say, "I'm a sweet guy." It's Newhart.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
and then that's the other, I think, great thing of the life that you carved out for yourself is like you're not only hanging out with Rickles, but Tim Conway was a friend that you're hanging out with. I think Dick Martin was somebody that
Dick, yeah.
I mean, you're really having the funniest people in the world to have dinner with. That's the real excitement.
I was as a matter of fact, I was at Freddie's in Minneapolis, and the phone rings. I'm just in the hotel, and the album had come out by that point. So the phone rings, and I never met him, never talked to him in my life. I pick up the phone. Yeah, hello. He said, "Hi, this is Dick Martin. I got a golf game at 1:00. You want to join us?" I'd never met him.
Never met him.
Yeah, Dick. Yeah, sure. Okay, where is But he felt that camaraderie with is another comic. I'll give him a call. Maybe he doesn't.
Maybe, yeah. I know he's got the afternoon free, but that's interesting. And this is before he started laughing, or this is when they were just doing nightclub
this is before,
stuff.
Yeah.
And that was maybe one of the last teams. Rowan and Martin was the last guys that went out there and did that kind of act. I always found that fascinating, the way that was so big for so many years, and then very little of it.
It's like a team. It's like it's two people, but it's one brain.
Right.
I mean, it just they know when to jump in, they know when to jump out, and
yeah, and at the same time, I guess it's comforting, but it's also limiting. You know what I mean? It's a very difficult thing to pull off because you've got to land, perfectly all the time.
Yeah.
But I also, I think it's just that era of, Tim Conway. Is there a funnier physical comic that we've had? Just unbelievable.
No. I'll tell you a story about Tim. Tim had to be a comedian. He had no choice because this house he lived in Ohio. I'm trying to think of it. Well, it doesn't matter, but to me it matters. Chagrin Falls. That's what it was. Chagrin Falls, Ohio. His father thought that he was handy around the house, but he wasn't. He wasn't handy at all. So he said to Tim, Tim's maybe, I don't know, 20, maybe something like that, 18. He said, I'm going to install a new doorbell. And so Tim says, "Oh, okay, Dad. All right." So he comes back from the hardware store, and he installs it with one problem. It rings all the time. The only time it doesn't ring is when someone rings the doorbell. At which point his father says, "I'll get it." Now, if you grew up in that house,
yes,
you got to be a comedian.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
That is so funny. I heard, so Tim's father was just this weird, funny guy. And it raised me. I heard him tell a story once about his dad where he said that there's some terrible storm had come through and knocked trees over in the neighborhood. And his dad opened the yard and says, "Those damn teenagers." And Tim was like looking around ready to fight. And I'm just like, but that, that era. And then you met him when you moved to CBS, or was it even before then? Because were you and Carol Burnett on the same nights in that time?
Yeah, but no, this was, Carol and I did a show called The Entertainers in 1964, I think it was.
Wow.
67, something like that.
Yeah.
But Tim wasn't on it at that time. We just ran into each other. We had mutual friends and another comic.
Another comic,
You wanna
another
talk
buddy.
to?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Do you imagine if you would just record it every time you had a dinner party? Just press record.
We used to go out, Dick Martin, myself, Mike Connors from
Wow.
from Mannix, Tim, and we'd have dinner, and then later Rickles came in, and Steve Lawrence of
Wow, Steve
and Edie.
and Edie.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, amazing crew.
So we would have, and we just had laughs. We just had a great time. I'd remind Dick of another story. He'd remind Tim of another story, and we just laughed the whole evening.
I mean, just think how much money that ticket would cost you to have, you know what I mean? And you're getting it all for free. Off the Record is exclusively on SiriusXM. It's a live retelling of some of Bob's most classic material. It's been digitized, mixed, mastered to find new life in 2020.
And the pauses have been put back in.
They're put back in. Here's one of my favorite things is when you're setting up driver's instructor and you bring up a woman driver and you get the moan all the way back then. You know what I mean? Like, people think a lot of the political correctness is new, but it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
This is
the driving instructor. Where it came from, where you get ideas from. If we got time for this?
Yes, of course we do.
Okay. I'm working. I can't get arrested in stand up, so I'm taking a part-time job at VLNA or Goldblatt's or somewhere in Chicago. And I'm taking part-time jobs. I don't think it's fair to take a job and have the guy think that I'm going to stay there, and then something comes along and I quit and leave. So I'm taking part-time jobs. So Sunday, the Chicago Tribune has the best part-time job section. So every Sunday I get it and I'm looking, and there's a full-page ad. Wanted driving instructor. Oh, well, full page. Huh? Next week. Full page. Wanted driving instructors. I see that for like 5 weeks. A huge one-page. And I thought to myself, I guess they have trouble getting driving instructors, you know? I mean, you can't find enough, apparently, ever. I wonder what the day is like, a day in the life of a driving instructor.
Boom.
Boom.
Then it comes to you. Thank you so much. And I know you don't like being called genius, but this is absolutely genius.
Okay.
Bob Newhart, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Ron. That's
Let's
very
do this
nice of you.